ressenti partout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news, current events, have a forum for thought exercises, as well as our movie review. Tonight we'll be continuing our month of vampires with 1995's Vampire in Brooklyn, starring Eddie Murphy and Angela Bassett. And with me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, buddy? Good to see you.
I swear I think I get these bugs worked out and shit like this happens. But I'm good.
Oh, it's good to hear, man. Good to hear.
I'm good. Ready for another Tuesday night?
Oh, I'm always ready for Tuesday, man. Like this is, I've been waiting for it all day.
This is your Super Bowl.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, your own personal Super Bowl.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. But yeah, Vampire in Brooklyn, man. I'm looking forward to talking about that. I learned a couple of things about that film that I found interesting that I had no idea some of the people that were involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a film that did not get a lot of respect when it came out, but now looking back, it's a very good movie.
I'm gonna save my thoughts for when we actually get to the review, because I don't want to, I don't want to get going and then we accidentally start talking about the movie prematurely. So
yeah, I'm just saying I'm looking forward to talking about it. So
yeah, and I'll just say I'm looking forward to it as well. We got topics for discussion for tonight. But before we get into, sorry people, it's been a long day.
It's all right.
Yeah. So everything's firing, not quite I'm out of sync a little bit. But anything interesting happened to you over the weekend, Rob?
No, not particularly. I just we released our episode on the sequel to Yojimbo, Sandro for Cinemigos, so I got to introduce the guys to another great samurai classic that we've talked about in the past. Just not to give anything away on these movies. One we've already talked about, but I wanted to bring it to the guys as well. I'm working on some future reviews for us. We have the Grand Budapest Hotel coming up, which I had never seen a Wes Anderson film before. Man, what a film. It's so different and interesting. I kind of like the aesthetic, and the story is actually really fun. It's
I mean,
I don't know what
argument could be made that if you've seen one Wes Anderson movie, you've kind of seen them all.
That is true,
but
I
yeah,
can't argue with that.
I mean, and he does have a very particular visual style. I'll give him that. And it harkens back to the days when almost like the golden age of Hollywood, where they actually put money into the sets and the costumes and all the performances were tight, and even from the background players.
With a Wes Anderson film, you get people, because the guy seems like he's a very nice person, and he has a vision of what he wants to do, and he's not necessarily worried about realism, because it's all about there's a certain look that he wants.
Right, there's a certain aesthetic that he is trying to pull off, and I think he does pull off his aesthetic.
And I think people like that. He knows what he wants, the script is done when he gives it to you. Like, that's what the script is going to be. This is what the film is. And he expects people to deliver their lines, but at the same time, he's not an asshole about it. Seems like he's a very kind person. And so that's why he constantly has all these great ensembles. People is like, I don't even care if I'm in the film for 5 minutes. I just want to be on the film. Cool. I get to work for a day with Wes Anderson, and there's this whole atmosphere of like this college campus where everyone's together, they eat together, they hang out, and they work on this movie together, and it sounds like a lot of fun. And so there is, especially with the Grand Budapest Hotel, there is a certain style that I'll talk about when we do our review on Cinemigos, but I was just like, wow, it's really cool seeing how that all came together. So just kind of an interesting filmmaker that I'm kind of that I kind of do want to dive into his other films just because I don't know, I find it fascinating. And then we're going to be reviewing Face in the Crowd. You and I have talked about that film, and I actually picked up the Criterion Blu-ray of it, and just kind of getting into some of the special features of it and learning more about the director and some of the they had archival interviews with Patricia Neal and Andy Griffith and like a lot of the people involved. So it's kind of interesting, like hearing how they got into the film, and no matter how many times I watch that film, it's happened. That film is maybe more relevant today than it was back in 1957 when that film came out. It's nuts.
Oh yeah, just like the almost it's particularly dealing with like the almost incestuous nature between like the media and politics.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to a degree, it was always there, or at least maybe it wasn't quite as utilized as it is today. Right. But that opportunity for that to happen, absolutely, maybe I would say maybe more so with the news media and politics as opposed to television, just because it was so new back then.
Yeah, because I mean, if you studied history, and it's not even like you can't really be contested, but like the long march to the institutions. What is it? They start particularly kind of your socialist communist agents, like they did they had the slow march through the institutions, and first it was the education system, and there it cannot be disputed that the education system leans more left and more like socialist communist. But then I think it finally came. The media caught up with, especially the news media, especially in the news, and like now, like I mean, we're gonna get to the debate performance in a little bit, but it was on full display. Just the wagon circling that the media does for a particular side of politics.
Yeah. Now I think a face in the crowd does. I don't think it necessarily leans to one side of the aisle or other. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people say
that is the credit that I'll give to it, because it wasn't saying like, oh, like the Democratic politician or the Republican politician. It kind of vaguely just said this politician was utilizing Andy Griffith's character's abilities.
Right. So
it could literally be any. It's literally just about politics, and not necessarily about a side.
So I think that's a positive element of that film is whatever side of the aisle you fall on, you can watch that film. It's like, dude, it is real. We all know that it's happening, and we all accuse the other side of kind of doing that thing. And to be honest, there is a lot of truth to that too. Like a lot, I think both sides do utilize.
Right. I mean, yeah,
it's kind of their own version of Lonesome Roads.
But it's like it's the truth. You do it, I do it.
Yeah. people who supposedly say that we all lonesome roads on our side of the
Right.
aisle, whether we like it or not. And I think you and I have tried to go away from like a lot of these people, just because they are grifters, and the politicians that those grifters tend to be attached to, we don't like. So uh, yeah, it's crazy. It's how I love the film because it's still true almost 70 years later. I mean, it's sad that it's true 70 years
Yeah.
later, but yeah. But still, it just I find the film very fascinating, and Andy Griffith, who he what a debut in
Hmm.
film,
Right. Because I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people.
because he became America's
Yeah,
dad
I
after
mean,
that.
he a lot.
To
I'm
be
sure a lot
honest,
of people miss this as part of his filmography. Because he Andy the and
didn't have very many
Andy
films.
Taylor from the Andy Griffith Show is such a
A stark
is
contrast from
exactly
this
such a
character.
stark contrast, but also just like the kind of yeah pillar or like in the pantheon of TV dads, he's up there. Like if there's a Mount Rushmore of TV dads, he would be on it.
Oh yeah, he's in the Mount Rushmore of
Hmm.
TV dads. Absolutely.
And just like yeah,
I think they would. Well, now because of everything that happened with him, I don't think Bill Cosby's up on that hill
right.
anymore. But he
But
was. He
he
was
was
definitely
America's
up there for a
dad,
time.
And interestingly enough, it was the media that crowned him such.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so weird just his debut in film, and then what the characters that he ended up becoming more popular for with
Right? Yeah,
Matlock
and
and Andy
mhm.
Taylor, so different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of I think he said it was kind of hard on the because Elia Kazan being part of the Actors Studio and was a very method director and wanted his actors to kind of get into character, and he said it took him several months to really recover from the role.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because and his next film, which was I think like it was some sort of like musical comedy or something
Uh-huh.
like that, which also did like it was
Uh-huh.
shitty, like or it did very shittily. I haven't seen the film, so it might be good. It just did not perform well, and he essentially was they deemed him box office poison, and that's why he went to
Mm.
television and he got the Andy Griffith
Mm.
Show, uh, which maybe that's what was supposed to
Right.
happen, and I'm glad that he became a popular figure that has to this day touches people's
Mm.
lives.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm
I
constantly
mean, the end.
seeing like clips from the Andy Griffith Show, dealing with like parenting. How like there's like this one figure on the show, and he was like a little bit more relaxed. Like, oh, why shouldn't you let your son do such and such? Um, and then
He was the original single
yeah, he
dad
was the
too.
original single dad, and then and then of course he counters it by saying like you can't let your kids like just do whatever they want because they don't know any better, and you're their parent. You're the one that's supposed to make sure that that they know what's the big difference between right and wrong, and it's just a stark contrast to the kind of lecturing we get today on TV, where it's like, oh, we have to let the children teach you, and just like, no, that's fucking asinine. Like I'm the adult. I'm the one who's lived longer and has more experience than this tiny person. And it's my duty to make sure that that they have these values, and that they are upstanding moral citizens.
Well, it's definitely one of the maybe at least in the top 10 of most powerful TV shows that have just even if you didn't grow up in that era, even if you've never watched an episode of Andy Griffith Show, you know the Andy Griffith
Yeah.
Show. It's you might not know all the nuances and the ins and outs, but you know the
Right. I
show.
mean, like
And
if you're not even if you're not familiar, you're familiar with the concept of like the shaky deputy, that which was iconically portrayed by Don Knotts.
Don
So
Knotts,
like
yeah.
it's kind of like that
Was
cinematic archaeology where it's like the show even though you didn't watch the show.
right. It's kind of like where I Love Lucy was the iconic show of the 50s. The 60s, you had a couple more because I think Star Trek has become an iconic show of the 60s, even though it ran for a shorter
Only like 3
time than the
seasons.
Andy
Yeah.
Griffith Show. You could maybe throw Batman in there.
Maybe.
The 70s was probably MASH was definitely there. Happy Days. That's an iconic show of the 70s. You had in the 80s you had Family Ties and Cheers. The 90s, I would say you have Frasier. If you want to throw an animated thing in there, The Simpsons obviously are iconic in the 90s. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is another one and Family Matters is another one that gets talked about a lot. You can maybe throw Full House in there, although I don't think a ton of people know that as much as some of these other ones.
I mean, it's
And
up there. Full House was up there.
I agree. I mean, because I watch that all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, because it's because of syndication. I think a lot of people know.
Home Improvement is another one.
Well, I think because of syndication, I think a lot of people do know Full House. What is interesting little tidbit? Candace Cameron, Candace Cameron, the actress who played
Murphy Brown.
No, Candace. That's Candace.
Candace Cameron, not Candace Bergman. Sorry,
Candace Cameron.
Candace Cameron Bure now because she's married to former hockey player, I think Valerie Bure.
That's the interesting part because her husband learned English by watching her show.
Yeah. What? I didn't know that.
That's part of their love story is that he
that's
he
fascinating.
learned English by watching Full House and then he would then go on to later marry Candace Cameron, who played DJ Tanner.
He's a great hockey player too. Not as good as his brother, but he was still a solid hockey player. I did not know that he learned English from watching Full House. That's nuts.
I mean, he like in interviews
so he had a crush on
DJ.
Yeah.
I think he does admit. I think he does admit that.
It's wild. That's a cool story, man.
Speaking of Candace Bergman, of course, because the Emmys just happened on Sunday.
Oh God! You saw that speech
of hers? I watched it, and and like the little digs, it was weird because it was more. I think they got the clue that like taking shots at Trump weren't really gonna work, so they kind of pivoted and went for JD Vance, there was that other little speech as I think what is it, Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, they were presenting, and then Selena Gomez delivered the joke about like how if they stay up there any longer, then Steve Martin and Martin Short would become childless cat ladies or something to that effect.
Oh my God! I will say this: I actually do really like their show a lot. Only Murders in the Building. It's very good, but like I said, I like the show. I don't necessarily have to like them as people. It's like, or maybe they are good people. It's just their political takes are stupid.
Because they took the ticket. They have to say these things, and they have to present themselves as believing as such.
That could also be very true too. But like I said, the show awesome. It's really good.
I never got into it, so I can't really opine.
It's a fun comedy murder mystery show. It's a little over the top, obviously. I mean, with Steve Martin and Martin Short, of course it's going to be. And then Selena Gomez is kind of like the nice straight man of the group, and it really works, man. They're all really, and I think they're all executive producers on the show, and it was Steve Martin's concept. I think he's one of the big writers on it, but it's I was shocked. It's pretty fucking good.
Okay.
Check it out. It's on Hulu.
I might check it out. Wait, Hulu? I thought it was on Netflix.
No, it's a Hulu original.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. I just like I said, A Face in the Crowd. It gets me every single time. I watch that film, and it's what a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Phenomenal movie. Like even I was taken aback because I'm just because I mean I know I wasn't there for like the original broadcastings, but because of reruns I grew up with Andy Griffith, and and I've only known him as the kindly all knowing
Andy Taylor, yeah,
wise father figure of Andy Taylor, and then when I saw him as the scoundrel of Lonesome Road, it's like
yeah. And that's why I was when I they were on Criterion. They had an Elia Kazan month, and I was like, oh, I've seen, obviously I'd seen On the Waterfront. I had seen some of his Streetcar Named Desire, stuff like that. When I saw this, I was like, A Face in the Crowd. What is this? Andy Griffith was in a movie? I had I assumed he was always in television. I didn't know that he was in a movie. And it's just like, oh, it's his screen debut. Let's check this out. This seems interesting. And I was absolutely like, it's knocked me on my ass. I was like, what is this? I didn't know he had that gear.
Right?
It's crazy.
No, it'll leave you speechless because like you think you know Andy Griffith, and then this comes along and you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's if you have not seen A Face in the Crowd, do yourself a favor. It's right now it's up on Tubi. You can watch it on Tubi for free, or if you're a physical media collector like myself, get the Criterion edition and watch it today. It's so good.
I mean, and the Simpsons were the writers anyway of Simpsons were fans because the storyline of Gabbo on the show that's directly lifted from Face in the Crowd.
Well, you also know some of the writers, or at least some of the original writers of The Simpsons, were part of the writing team on the Andy Griffith Show. So of course they knew about this,
right? Because for those of you who know, there's that episode where this new children's programming character comes to town, and he kind of like kind of takes all the oxygen out of the room, particularly out of Krusty the Clown. And Bart, being a loyal fan of Krusty the Clown, he decides to try and destroy the new guy's, now Gabbo's, career, and he sneaks onto the studio and he turns the camera, the
audio on after the show's over, yeah.
When they're on commercial break or whatever, and then you hear the character of Gabbo just call it's like, oh, all the kids in Springfield are dumb SOBs, it's just
yeah.
So yeah, like even the parents are dumb SOBs, it's just like, and then
oh, Gabbo.
Yeah, Gabbo. But
it's like a mixture. So it's a mixture of Lonesome Roads and that I think was it. I couldn't remember. It was. I think it's Superman, like the character of like where.
I know you're talking about.
What was the guy
that
has
ventriloquist and Scarface?
Ventriloquist, yeah. Yeah, dude. It kind of reminds me of that. Because I don't think he was in control of Gabbo. I think Gabbo is like a real person.
Oh yeah, like just like in yeah the Batman the BTAS, the animated series. Yeah, there was like
Yeah.
I know it's kind of crock science, but Batman does a voice analysis, of the ventriloquist and Scarface, and they're like it's like supposed like two different, almost like the wave patterns or whatever doesn't match, so it's like two different people, but yeah, so like psychologically, yeah, Scarface is completely like a completely separate part of the the actual human of the ventriloquist, which we never even really learned the name of, which he's always just referred to as the ventriloquist.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a cool character. See that we need a Batman movie about that.
Yeah, but done like respectfully, It's, um, but although it's such an odd character, and to try to get someone to take a ventriloquist seriously, I don't even know if Christopher Nolan could do it.
Well, I think Matt. So here's because did you ever watch that movie with Anthony Hopkins, Magic?
I didn't.
Okay, well he's it's been a long time since I've seen it, but he's essentially he uses a ventriloquist doll to
Mm.
communicate and stuff like that. So it's not a horror film, but it I think there to some people it'd probably be a horror film. And I think you kind of turn it into some because there is some sort of mythological aspect to Batman. You could kind of make it into like a weird horror Batman movie, and with the Matt Reeves universe, you could kind of sort of do that. I don't know, maybe if I don't know if they'll ever do this. This is just a an idea, but just because we've seen so because to be honest, like I think Heath Ledger kind of took over as the Joker. I don't think anybody else can really play that role anymore.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I'll
Joaquin
I'll
Phoenix
hedge my
certainly did
I'll
his
hedge my
best.
bets and say like no one should touch the Joker for at least a decade.
Well, it's already been a decade since The Dark Knight.
Oh,
It's
that's right.
so I I know we think of it like it was. Oh, wasn't that film? Did that film come out like 5 years ago? No, it's almost 15 years
Wow.
since that film has been
Wow.
out. It has been 15 years since that film's out.
Wow.
I think it's 16 years now.
Okay.
It's which is crazy to me. But I would say just let's let that character rest for a
Hmm.
while, and let's play
Yeah,
with
play
some
with
of the other
yeah
characters
the
that are
other the
great.
others in Batman's rogue gallery. And I think
We have we
what I
have
would
not
like.
had a good
Yeah,
live action Mr. Freeze.
dude, if they could adapt,
No
if they
offense
could,
to Arnold.
yeah, if they could adapt, the BTAS Mr. Freeze into live action, ooh, I think you got something there. Although,
Oh,
although
dude.
there no one will ever beat the voice acting of what's his face. He played not Khan. He played Kang on Star Trek.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
him?
hold on.
No way.
Let me see. Come on. Oh yeah, Michael and Sarah. That's
Yeah,
yeah from
he's was great as Mr.
Batman
Freeze.
the animated series. Yeah, he played Kang,
Yeah,
the original Klingon antagonist to Captain Kirk.
he's gonna be dead
I think
now.
he did pass away.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would imagine
but
he's
yeah,
dead
but
now. But man, yeah, he
if we can get that that Mister
that
Freeze,
level.
but in live action, ooh, I think you'd really have something there.
Oh, well, do you think maybe what you would you maybe do something where you get someone that has the look of Mr. Freeze, but maybe you have to like dub a different voice that just kind of has that tinge, like similar to like what they did with Darth Vader with James Earl Jones, like, or would you? I'm trying to think of like what actor kind of has the look and the voice that. Oh, you know who would work? Actually, I think would work to make maybe kind of an imposing Mr. Freeze, and I think he could pull it off because he's
Whoa, he was
definitely
married to
developing as an
Barbara
actor.
Eden.
No way!
Yeah, it says here, at least for
Holy
a short
shit!
while, 1958 to
I dream it.
1974.
He was so married to I Dream of
Yeah,
Jeannie. Hell
good
yeah,
for
dude!
him.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Living the
Yeah.
dream, my guy.
Yeah.
Dude, he was the envy of every boy in the
In the 60s,
60s and
yeah.
70s.
Wow, good for him. Yeah, and he was a brand. I mean, he was
No,
Syrian by birth. Yeah, he
no
was
way.
Syrian.
Man,
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
in his career,
The
he
no,
played like Indians and and Mexicans and things like that. But
that makes sense that he'd be a
yeah,
Klingon
uh,
then. Yes. But no, you know who I think could play Mr. Freeze today and make it a like good serious role because he's a good actor? Dave Bautista.
ooh, yeah, because I'm what I'm okay. I'm not too, I'm not very familiar with his body of work, but him as like the caretaker guy in Blade Runner 2049, that same kind of that same kind
Amazing.
of energy, applied that to a live action Mr. Freeze, I think might work.
So watch Knock at the Cabin. It's not the best
Mm-hmm.
movie, but he fucking kills that role. He is great. His the God damn, he's so good in that movie.
That the one with the homos.
Like yes it is. Yeah. So but like I said, it's not the I don't really care for the movie
Right.
that much. I watched it in theaters but I was watch it for Dave Bautista because that guy is the best actor in the room. It's which is crazy to think about. That and the little girl. The little girl is also fantastic in the movie. She is a wonderful actress who I hope she has a big career because she's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
great. But yeah, Dave Bautista I think could bring that element in that the Robert Pattinson Matt Reeves Batman universe. I'd love to see like what he could bring to the table, and then maybe go for like some other people like some of the other weird rogues gallery like Calendar Man or something different.
Yeah, let's see. I'd like to see a serious Poison Ivy,
Yeah,
because like particularly like in like video games and a little bit in animation, they kind of like give her superpowers, like but I thought her in her original appearance in the Batman the Animated Series as just someone who's like good at science and able to you know create these things, and not necessarily she having these abilities of like creating like pheromones or whatever in her body. Uh, I think was really interesting.
I think the idea of using like pheromones and
Well, no, no,
being kind of like a poison
yeah,
expert.
but I don't like want her to be able to like have like plantokinesis or florokinesis where she's like can control plants or
No,
I
no,
just
no,
want her to
no.
be like a grounded person who's just like an expert in biological poisons.
Dude, like she'd be like a biological terrorist, but like no one knows that it's her that's doing
Right?
it.
Yeah, she could be and then and you could kick it and like because even in VTAS she was an eco terrorist. And who
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh, dude.
who doesn't hate eco terrorists right now? They all suck.
Yeah, and here And that's the thing, because what was great about the Robert Pattinson Batman is that we got more of the detective version of
Mm,
Batman, which is what we all want, as because that has been underutilized
right. Yeah. Because
in
it was.
Batman movies pretty much
Yeah.
ever. So having her being like an eco terrorist and him having to try to kind of essentially you maybe turn Batman into maybe not James Bond, but like more of a like this investigative Batman trying to figure out who it is. That would be amazing. And you kind of you throw out some red herrings there, and you're not really sure who it is. Don't make her. You don't necessarily have to make her a ginger or something like that. Make her
Yeah.
unassuming, and
Or like yeah, or you could do like the whole personas thing where like she's a ginger, in her persona as Poison Ivy, but like give her her duality too, like Catwoman and Selena Kyle, or even in Batman himself, Batman Bruce Wayne.
oh, dude, that would be awesome. See, there we go. Matt Reeves, come talk to us. We got some ideas, buddy. But I honestly like with him and Pattinson working together, and they seem to be kind of huge nerds about this. I think they're thinking about stuff like this, even though, unfortunately, I think with this next one we're gonna get a Joker, which, God, and I think honestly, I feel like that is a studio force thing, just because the Joker's popular. Just you do the Joker,
Right. Yeah, because
and
also it's also
it,
name recognition, because everyone know who the Joker is. No one, you have to be a real nerd to know who like Poison Ivy is, or Calendar
yeah,
Man, or one of the or one
no
of
no
the
one knows who the fuck
yeah.
Calendar
I
Man
mean,
is.
like except for like no one knows like the B or C list, rogue,
Of the Rogues
in the Rogues
Gallery.
Gallery. So
I thought it was awesome that we got the Riddler, like a really fucked up Riddler. That was awesome in this the first one.
yeah. What I would also like, and it might work within the Matt Reeves Batman universe, but I would like a Red Hood story adaptation.
Yeah, that'd be great too. Or a Court of Owls.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might have worked. I think if the studio or whatever, if the Snyder DCEU didn't get fucked up, I think it might have. I think it could have gone that way that we would eventually.
I know that they were gonna give us a
Yeah,
Deathstroke.
right, because of the post credits. But I think if it didn't get all fucked up, I think we could have eventually gotten a Red Hood storyline out of the Zack Snyder DCEU, because it was kind of because
Oh,
yeah, 'cause it was kind of
absolutely.
hinted at in Batman vs Superman, at the in the display case with the Robin costume, all graffitied up. Um,
Yep.
so I think it could have been possible.
And I'm trying to think, like, would in we also haven't had a good film Robin either.
Yeah, no,
No shade to The Dark Knight Rises, but I mean, I feel like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, we didn't really get a good Robin.
right,
He was
yeah, and then like
film, but
yeah, and then
that's not Rob.
they didn't
It's
fully commit because they made it his first name.
oh my God, I was like, that's
That's
fucking
stupid.
dumb. That's a detriment on the
Yeah.
film. Yeah, it's a detriment on the film. But,
But
I could talk about Batman forever, but
yeah, I mean it's yeah, it's always fun to speculate, or try to come up with new Batman storylines. I mean, no offense, but uh,
I'm shocked we don't have a Batman Forever movie. Like, to be honest, it's
yeah, but I would still like a Batman Beyond movie.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm shocked we don't have one.
Okay, because you said maybe I misheard, but I thought you said Forever.
Sorry, I meant Batman
Okay.
Beyond, not Bat.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Because
I have Joel Schumacher on the mind right now. I just watched 8
right.
Millimeter, and like I was watching some Joel Schumacher movies, and sorry, I have Batman Forever on my head
Yeah.
right now. Sorry,
But yeah,
Batman
because
Beyond.
I mean, I know I've stated my stance on like the concept of mantles, but Batman Beyond is a mantle story done right, or how to pass down the mantle to somebody else done right.
Right, you could get what you could do is you could bring if you want, because I know people are like super like, oh, you want to bring back some of these legacy actors and characters for these roles. Like this would be like a great vehicle for better than what they did with the Flash, but you bring back maybe Michael Keaton as the old Batman who just can't do it anymore, or Christian Bale who he'll travel in the future and like age himself like
Right? Yeah,
20
he'll
years,
for the
so he'd
experience.
be
Yeah,
like super
exactly.
old. Yeah.
First, no, to get the full experience, he'll go back and be the guy that kills his parents, and then make himself become Batman, and then go to the future, yeah, and then become the future version of himself, to then become, become the next Batman.
Who would you put as the Guinness character
Terry McGinnis.
if you're gonna cast it today? Yeah,
Uh,
because obviously Will Friedle is probably out because he's a
yeah.
little too old.
I'm not too up on like the latest young actors.
Not what's his face from
No,
Doom,
no, he's
like
played
that.
out. He's
No,
too old.
sorry.
He's too old. Uh,
Tom Holland might be because I think he's connected with Marvel too hard. I don't think you could get
no,
him to
no.
do it, but he would be great.
Yeah, if he wasn't already cemented in as this generation Spider-Man, it could have worked. Um,
Trying to think like what young like
yeah,
actor that's like also
I'm just
really.
not up on like young actors, so I can't really.
Neither am I. Like young male actors right now, I couldn't really tell you. I know some like great young female actors that I think are very good, but that doesn't work for our
Right.
character. I almost would have said, it's now he's also too old, but the main character that plays Jim Gordon in Gotham, the Batman
Oh
TV
yeah.
show Gotham, there was a time where he could have done it because he was kind of the young hotness back in like the early 2000s.
I was just about to say maybe, but it's a bit of recycling, but it worked for Chris Evans. Um, but the young actor who played uh, in the Shazam movies, Billy Batson,
Zach,
The one that played Billy Batson, the main character.
uh, fuck, what's his name? Yeah, he could do it. Yeah, that wouldn't be
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, and again, it's a bit of recycling, but again, it worked for Chris Evans.
It did. Yeah,
Right,
it
and
did
it was
work
like
for Chris Evans.
in the same universe too, because he went from Marvel to Marvel. So
Yeah, dude, did uh did you see Deadpool and
I sure did.
Wolverine? Yeah, dude, like I was so like happy that because I know that Chris Evans says like I don't want to play Captain America again, but if I could play Johnny Storm again, I absolutely
Right,
will. And
he
he
sure
sure
did.
did. I was like, yes. When he says "Flame on," I was like,
Yeah,
yes. And I thought it was great as they made him kind of look like he was
yeah, with like
Captain
the red
America.
arm wraps and stuff, and like the
Yeah, and I
vaguely
was like,
blue
oh,
leotard.
I was like, there's no way he's playing Captain America again. And I was like, yeah, when he did that flame on, I was like, fuck yes, dude. I'm so happy for him that he was able to play that character one more
Right.
time. Not those Fantastic Four movies were not bad. That Fan Four Stick was dog shit.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
god,
was
with
just a
Michael B.
yeah, that
Jordan.
was just a fuck you to Marvel. It's like, oh, we're gonna make a crappy Fantastic Four movie just so we can hold on to the rights.
Oh, that was Fox like fucking
Yeah.
over
Hmm.
Marvel there at that point. Because you know that they wanted the Fantastic Four, but it's like, but they had that stipulation in the contract that if they made a movie every
They
couple of
have to hold on to the
years,
rights. Yeah.
that's really sad that like that was the whole idea. And so you can make a shitty movie, but we made a movie and no one liked it. It lost us. They lost money on that thing too, which is crazy. Like just fucking sell it or give it back to them. Like you're not making money. You lost. Like, well, I think they lost like
Right.
$50 million
And
off of
there's
that. Like
also
just
yeah
to what
all
to make
that
a point.
again also all that drama with the director, which I'm thinking like him going nuts is like not entirely his fault.
Do what the fucking what they did
Sony.
with
Yeah.
Sony did with Spider-Man. Just like
Yeah. Timeshare.
obviously like Disney ended up like buying out Fox, so now they own it. But you could have done that. That I honestly I think half the reason why Disney bought Fox is to get the rights back, so they would stop getting fucked over by these people. I'm saying okay, if we're not gonna get the characters you want, we'll just buy you out. We can do that, and they did.
Yeah.
And now they own all these properties that had Fox just not been an asshole about it. Like it's like what are we doing here?
Yeah, I had this joke. It's like there's Tom Petty, there's Richard Petty, and then there's me. But now it's like
Yeah.
now there's Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's God.
But it
It's
kind of
just
makes sense. But it kind of makes
ridiculous.
sense that they bought the entirety of Fox Entertainment just for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, no, see, so Sony was smart in the fact that like, okay, like, we're gonna retain the
Right. They
rights,
worked out a deal.
but
They
like
worked out a deal.
we'll they worked out a deal, and we had to I think it was like they had to have like a 20%
Yeah,
difference in certain things.
25%.
Like
Yeah.
MJ couldn't be Mary Jane's,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's why
something
that's
like
why
that,
MJ could
and
be black, but then not be called Mary Jane because that's part of the 25% difference.
right,
That's why
and
and
so
then you
you
don't really have Uncle Ben, um, but you still get to have Aunt May.
no Uncle
Um,
I think they like stayed away from doing the origin story, which was
yeah,
smart,
we've seen it like two different times. We don't need a
right,
third.
and so yeah, that was interesting. I think with, but then they're also able to like kind of make their like now they can make their own Venom movies, which the first one was pretty good. I liked the first one. Second one not so much. I'm skeptical about this new one that's
Mhm.
coming out this week, I think. Yeah, I'll watch it, but I'm not
Right.
sure if I'm gonna go to
Yeah, and I
theaters to
mean
watch
they're
it.
trying, and that's like they're trying to give like this grand like farewell thing, like as though these Venom movies were like so well beloved, and it sucks for Tom Hardy because he's such a talented actor.
Tom Hardy did a
Yeah, and
great
he still
job.
did. I mean, he did a good job, but then it sucks that like because of kind of the downward trajectory that eventually became of Marvel movies that he wasn't able to like enjoy the successes like with like the original six uh had with like the Avengers. Um,
We could have we could have had like this like great rogues gallery thing with the Spider-Man thing because the original
oh yeah,
six
Sinister Six. Yeah,
storyline, the Sinister Six, like that would have been a great storyline for the MCU that we could have utilized. And you have Sony and a Marvel Disney working
yeah, and
together to
actually,
make a great like series of movies.
yeah, I forget which way it was. Either Amazing Spider-Man was trying to get the Avengers Tower put in the skyline, in their movies, or the MCU, the Avengers, they were trying to get the Oscorp Tower in their skyline.
It was
Yeah,
something
but they were
along
working on
those
some sort of
lines.
a
Yeah.
timeshare deal way back when.
Yeah, it
For
just
the
it didn't.
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man to like cross over into the MCU.
Yeah. Which could have been interesting. But yeah, just the like was it Morbius was I haven't seen it, but I heard it was
Right.
horrible. Like
Yeah,
no
and I
one
mean
liked
now
that.
like I think they're coming out with the
They have that
Craven
Craven the
Hunter movie,
Hunter one that's supposed
which
to come out.
it's interesting that you're deciding to make villain stories, but it's villains that no
Like
one knows about.
they're not making them
Yeah, and
good.
like
Yeah,
no one
no.
knows about them. Save like the deep like comic book nerds who have every copy of Spider-Man in existence. And
It's a
yeah,
niche.
and like
Yeah,
yeah, and
sure.
it's a niche. Don't get me wrong, but like yeah, they know like the deep lore and like every iteration of like the characters, and it's just like yeah, fine, okay, make villain movies because superhero movies are getting a little passe, but like go full tilt. All right, lean into it and give us like a super villain movie. All right, make him the bad guy, make him do all the bad things. Um, but then you still have to have the superhero try to and stop them.
You look at like movies like The Sword of Doom, where we're following the villain and we don't like his character, but we're following him, and the antagonist is the hero of the film, and played by Toshiro Mifune. We can have a movie like that today. I think that would be so fascinating because now it's he's the anti-hero. He's morally gray. It's like that's I think we've had enough of
Right?
that for a while. Like have
Like your Wolverines, and then like your Punishers, or yeah, which I think it's
Deadpool's.
your Deadpool's. I think like they totally pussified the Punisher, like to make him more like Wolverine. It's like no, make him psychotic, make him have PTSD, make him be like bloodthirsty. That's the Punisher.
Give me John Barron.
Kill them.
Well, that we got that initially when he debuted with the Daredevil
Yeah.
show,
Well, a
because
little
he
bit more.
was that guy. A little bit more like when they gave him his own show,
That's when
it
they
was
pussified him.
toned down. That was toned down a little bit, but I still enjoyed the show. And he's to be honest, if they do bring back the Punisher, John Barenthal needs to play the Punisher. I'm sorry, he I think did a great job in that role. And he's a guy that he obviously has played a great like character actor, but he has leading man
Right.
qualities, and this is definitely a role
Dude, how
where
crazy would have been? How
he could
crazy would have
lead.
been if they brought back Thomas Jane Punisher for Deadpool?
Oh, dude, that would have been
Right.
awesome. I would have loved to have seen that.
I enjoyed his Punisher.
I did. I thought it was a fun movie. It had like a kind of like a little bit of a Mad Max feel, like when they killed his wife and kid, like it like the original Mad Max, so like it run over his kid with the car. It kind of had that feel to it.
Yeah, you see, you don't see the awfulness, but you know the awfulness happened.
You know what we should? Oh, you know what we should do for a theme month is we should do like kind of maybe like non-universe related comic book films. We could do Thomas Jane's The Punisher. Oh God, we could do the Daredevil with Ben Affleck. We could do Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, which is still the best Fantastic Four film. I think it's on YouTube right now. You can watch it. It was never released. And maybe I'm trying to think like what other one is not really attached with. I mean, I guess we could do like something like DC. You could do Elektra, which is also god awful, or we could do like oh God, Catwoman, which is also god awful. I'll have to look that up, but I definitely would want to do the Roger Corman Fantastic Four film, the Thomas Jane's The Punisher for sure, and I'll think, but I think that's a good month for us.
All right, went in a little bit more movie talk than expected, but yeah, let's get into topics for discussion for tonight.
Yeah, we'll rush through these things because they're all kind of connected,
Yeah.
anyways. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, we didn't want to do a live debate, reaction thing, but we will kind of, do a, what's that called? An autopsy or autopsy of the debate. And I was able to watch find clips and watch a little bit of it, um, but and even that night when it was happening last week, I did catch a little bit of it, and it's just like I came away from it just as one of the moderators was fact checking Trump and being kind of a bitch about it.
So here's a couple of my takeaways, because I did listen to the whole thing. After pretty much after the next day, I watched the whole thing, and there was a couple takeaways I have on this. Some good, some bad. The bad is that Trump, I think, got a little sidetracked on a couple of things that he really should have just he had like momentum going, and then he got derailed on a couple of things just because Kamala, I think it was when she talked about the size of his rallies that he has, and I think he got a little derailed after that point, but like he did come back, but it's still like that it was not a good look. Trump is also going 3 against 1. He wasn't just debating Kamala Harris on that stage. He was debating David Muir and what's her face? I can't remember her fucking name. One thing I do know, a couple of things. The head of ABC News is a close personal friend to Kamala Harris, who introduced him, her and her husband. And the other moderator, who I cannot remember her name, supposedly she was a sorority sister to Kamala Harris. So it feels like that's a conflict of interest in a lot of ways. But that also makes you wonder, like, oh, of course that's why she wanted to be on ABC News, and she denied all the other ones. Because why wouldn't she? Because this was her George Stephanopoulos. It was her warm blanket for a debate. She never answered one question. And the moderators never pushed back on her for some reason. Kind of weird. And when Trump was able to not only answer questions, but he was essentially attacked by the moderators. Not even really, Kamala Harris wasn't even doing the attacking. It was David Muir and the other moderator who, both of them in a very bitchy way, they're quote unquote fact checking him. So it's like, even despite all that, I think he did okay, but to me it's a wash, because I don't think it changed I don't think it changed the scale of voters in any way.
Right, because people, especially now, like who you're gonna vote for, and there's only a small sliver of like independent voters who still weighing their options. So
who the other thing too that I because normally you'd think, like, if she had kind of like won the debate, like a lot of things you see on social media, that Kamala just killed Trump, like she's so like amazing, blah blah blah, her polling would have gone up in polls, but it didn't do any of that. In fact, it's in some of them it stayed stagnant or it went down. You also have the fact that David Muir, who is on probably the one of the biggest news shows on ABC, ABC Nightly News, his ratings went down
Yeah.
12% this past week. That's so people they don't like him
Mhm.
anymore, or like it's like they realize like, wait a second, this guy who I've been listening to all these years like is an
Yeah.
asshole. Like, well, which I already
Right.
knew that,
Yeah.
but it's
But yeah, it's like it's really funny because like it's the Trump curse because they thought that they were gonna go out there and make him look bad, but they did the exact opposite and made themselves look bad, which only hurts them.
and if you also go on just based off of you know I hate to say this, but like the sound bites, you know what people remember? They know about like the stuff that's going on in
Hmm.
Springfield that Trump
Right.
talked about. They think about like, yeah, the border, it is a problem. Like we have all these, migrants that are going into our country that Kamala has let in. Those are the sound bites that people remember because whether you like it or not, and it's this has nothing to do with like race, creed, or color, but the fact that we have citizens of our country that are being inundated are not from this country and being protected and let in,
Yeah, like one of the
and
stupidest.
to
Yeah,
some degree being
one of the
given money.
stupidest nitpicky things that other moderator fact check Trump was that they're not illegal because they have temporary protective status, which is a legal distinction, and so therefore that doesn't make them illegal. It's like that's stupid. That's a stupid. That yeah,
Fuck you,
yeah.
bitch.
That would have been my response. Like it's like it's like fuck you, bitch. That's stupid. If I was if I was the one debating, I'm like fuck you. That's stupid. That's a distinction without a difference.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I was like, what the? I couldn't believe that I should take that back. Yes, I could believe it because this is what
Yeah.
the media does.
The only
They're
thing the
liars.
only thing that I couldn't believe is not anything that happened on the debate stage, but afterwards when I would like talk to people, like one person in particular, he thought that Kamala did the bad, he did a good job, and I was like, it's like why? It's like well, like it was 3 against 1. They're always fact checking Trump. Like yeah, he's like yeah, because he was lying. It's like, oh, so Kamala wasn't lying? It's like, no, she was telling the truth. If they didn't fact check her, then she wasn't lying. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Let me tell you the lies. Like there are a lot of them. To be honest, her whole shtick was a lie. And think of what are her policies like? It's because to this day, like in this whole week, I've been listening to interviews both by that have been given to Kamala I mean, like quote unquote interviews, not like
Right.
actual live
Yeah. Not
interviews, but
probing or
interviews,
informative interviews about
right?
elucidating
But both
elucidating
her
interviews that that inform people of like where she actually stands on things.
these are journalists that are on her side. Both her and Tim Waltz, they're on their side, and there's hey, this is people are talking about this. What are your plans for the economy and all this stuff like that? Well, the
Yeah.
economy. Well, when we're talking about the economy,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, and then
word
she went
salad.
on some
And when you
diatribe about
what
her, middle class
growing up
upbringing and
middle
like how
class
like her neighbors,
and her
how her
mom,
neighbors like took care of their lawns.
and it's like, how the fuck is that going to help me? How is that going to help the country? Who gives a fuck? I don't care about your past. What is your goddamn plan? Right, you're running for president. What is your plan? But because here's the thing: it's because she doesn't care about those people, and so she doesn't have a plan. But guess what? When you talk to her about like gun control or any other socialist policy, oh, all of a sudden there's no more word
Yeah,
salad.
she's
She
very
knows
clear.
exactly what she wants to do.
Well, except
Same
for
thing with
no,
Tim
except for
Waltz.
now that she's the candidate, because before she was against fracking, but now all of a sudden she's warmed up to fracking, and before she's like, oh yeah, totally, like
What
totally,
And no
Totally,
one. Okay.
gun buyback. Yeah, it'll be mandatory. But there's like now it's like, oh well, me and Tim, we're gun owners, so no, of course not. We're not coming for the guns.
So what changed your mind? No one asked that question. It's I never said that. It's like
It's like, bitch, receipts.
what is the
Yeah, and,
change? Oh, it's because it's unpopular and
right, and
you're trying to lie to
yeah, and
people. Got
particularly
it.
like like where's the bulk of the time she's spending time in? Which states? All swing states: Pennsylvania, Nevada, um, one of the Carolinas. Yeah, all swing states. Like Pennsylvania is important because a lot of oil workers. A lot of oil companies there. That's why she switched. That's why she changed her position on fracking. Guns. Like probably in one of the Carolinas. Like, oh, that's probably why she switched up her position on guns. Yeah, and it's like, and I asked these people, I was like,
has she gone anywhere else like
no, of
campaigning
course not.
anywhere? Is she in any other state?
No,
Fuck no.
Because all the states that she knows are gonna go for her anyway. She doesn't even bother. She's only been hitting the swing states. And here's the question I was trying to ask this guy, the one that said like, oh, Kamala Harris wasn't lying, that's why she wasn't fact checked. But I asked, I tried to ask him, it's like, oh, what's one policy that that you agree with her on? And it's like there was nothing. Like, he couldn't name it. She's like, oh yeah, she's just a better person. It's like, why? It's like, what makes her what makes her better than Trump? It's like, oh, and I stopped him before. It's like, don't say because she's nicer. All right, I don't. Who cares about nice? All right, tell me what her plan is, and ultimately he couldn't answer.
What's her plan? What makes her gonna be? What makes her to be the better steward of this country? What is she gonna do?
This guy
better
is,
than Trump is gonna do.
Not terribly bright, so I have to like dumb it down. So it's like why? What makes you think that she would be a better president? And you can't say because she's nice.
It's like, for me, it's like, I don't care. Trump is an asshole. I got it. Like, that's and personally, I don't give a fuck. But you know what I do believe is that he actually gives a shit about this country and wants it to do well.
Right. I mean, I don't care.
And to be honest,
I don't care if you are gonna vote for Kamala Harris, but give me the reasons why you're voting for her. All right. I would let it go if you just gave me the reasons why. Like what? Like you like her? Like you like this plan of hers? You like that plan of hers? You like this policy that she enacted, or that policy she prevented from being enacted? Okay, just give me something other than like she's nice, or she's not Trump. Okay, just be a fucking adult.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing too. Even if Trump, I'm not even saying that like Trump is like super altruistic and he's just doing it because he loves the United States. There may be a financial incentive for because he wants America to succeed, and that helps him out financially.
Or you can make the
Who cares?
Or you can make the other argument of ego and just like he just wants that second chance and like to rub in everybody's face because he's that much of an egomaniac. It's like, fine, okay, that's fine. I accept that.
But all those things could be true. But is he going to run the country in a better fashion than these assholes? Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, the question that Trump posed and a lot of people posed, like, Kamala's already in office, and like she, proudly says like, oh, I was the last one in the room, in term, for Afghanistan. So like she is having input in the policies then. So like.
Oh, JD Vance has been like honing in on that. It's like you've had 1,400 days. Your first day was 1,400 days ago. You haven't done anything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like.
So what?
So like she could do all this shit right now, and yet she doesn't. What do you think is gonna change?
Yeah.
From now until October. or November. I'm sorry, November.
Of course
November.
not. No, of course nothing. And the here's the other thing too. If she happens to win, God forbid, if she happens to win the election, I have a feeling that Joe Biden gets the 25th Amendment, or he ends up like stepping down before January, and she becomes president anyways.
Okay, that's
guaranteed. Guaranteed.
If it weren't for the Trump hat incident, I would have pushed back on you on that. But since the Trump hat incident did happen, I think.
Oh God, yeah, I think
that might be possible. Because before, I surmised that part of the deal for him to step down was that he gets to still remain president up until the very end, right? So he could still say that he was president, for all 4 years, and then he could have that moment. But after the way the Democratic Party just like kind of threw him aside, and how like Kamala's now kind of like openly bashing him, like she made the comments about like, oh, we need new kinds of leadership, basically throwing shade at Biden, saying he's old school, he's antiquated, and then with the debate thing, and Trump basically calling it out, it's like, yeah, he hates you. He hates you.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get that signal boost, a little bit from Joe Biden by putting on the MAGA hat.
Oh God, that was hilarious. I was like, but the only thing is,
after that,
it's like he doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
Part of me thinks like, you think he knows what he's doing?
As out to lunch as he can be, in that moment, he knew what he was doing. Because I guess I'm a little skeptical. Back to my original thought. Yeah, before the MAGA hat incident, like I would have pushed back at you saying like, oh, they're gonna 25th Amendment him, but after the Trump hat incident, yeah, that might be a possibility. Like they're gonna just like fuck you and the deal that we made, that you get to be president until the very end. We're gonna kick you out. And particularly if Kamala loses, yeah, I can foresee that happening, where like they 25th his ass, she gets installed and gets to be the first female black, or East Asian or South Asian or whatever the fuck.
Whatever she wants to be.
That she wants to be. Just for the accolade of saying, oh yeah, I was the first.
Oh my God, it's just
these
people, man. I swear to God,
the pettiness of it, And I'm someone who enjoys petty. All right, don't get me wrong. I appreciate pettiness, but like this level of pettiness is even beyond me.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, so to me, the debate was a bit of a wash. I don't think it changed anybody's mind, but at the same time, I think Kamala thinks that she won, and I know she like right away was like, "Oh, I'm ready for another one," and but I don't know how serious that is. To be honest, I don't think there's gonna be another debate.
But Trump also should have been like, "Fine, bitch, let's do 3 more," because after the debate, she felt like a little full of herself. She thought like, she got 3 inches in her pants, and she's like, oh yeah, let's do another debate. And then Trump should have called her out and been like, yeah, fine, let's do 3 more debates actually, because we
since you ducked me on the first one, we'll do like another 2 or 3 or whatever.
We weren't part of the first, and again, trying to keep her connected to Joe Biden. You have to keep her connected to Joe Biden. So it's like, yeah, since you weren't in the first one, because you weren't, it's like because you weren't in the first one, because
Oh yeah, technically, yeah. So it needs to be 3 more because she wasn't in the first debate. That was against Joe Biden, who handedly lost.
And so he has to call. He should have called her on it and be like, fine, yeah, totally. Let's do 2 more. Let's do 2 more, bitch.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and the debate was a wash because he also pulled his punches, uh, and I think he was listening to his one of his advisor told him like he needs to be more presidential, and so he needs to like hold back, and he can't just like unleash like he did with Hillary Clinton in 2016. But I think that's what was needed. All right, because because
To be honest, what he did with the Biden debate, he was so good in that debate. I mean, obviously, like you're against somebody who is barely alive, sure, but he allowed him to hang himself, essentially,
right, yeah,
and
because
had that
yeah,
continued.
because really Trump, all he had to do is allow Kamala to shadow box, and she would have knocked herself out. Because as soon as like she finished, whatever question the moderators or whatever asked of him, he should have just ignored it and been like, actually, Kamala, you didn't answer that question. So let me ask you one more time. What is your position on XYZ? And like had her either you know take a stand on a position or make or tie her to the position.
Yeah, and he did that to a small
Right, but
degree.
he
I know they
he
kept
needed to
bringing
be
they
more
they kept
vicious.
bringing
He
that.
needed to be more vicious.
Yeah, they kept bringing that up. Yeah, I know that kept bringing it up like with the abortion. He did like okay. Well, so what's the line for you guys? Even though that's, to be honest, that's not really a major concern right now for people. But the fact that like that I can't think of another candidate who's like, okay, what's the line? Is it this month? Is it that month? Is it this many weeks?
Like
What is it?
how many
You
fingers
guys
and
never
toes do
answered
they
this
need to
question.
have?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that would have been the verb. That would have been the linguistic kill shot. You asked them how many fingers and toes do they need to have before you can kill them.
Yeah, exactly. See, that would have been, but the fact that he even like, shot back at her about that was
Right,
great. He needed to do that more because she never answered a question. It's like, and since the moderators aren't going to check on her, it's like, well, I don't know what her answer to that is. What is it? What's the
exactly.
policy here? What she didn't answer that question. What is it? What's
Yeah.
the answer?
Yeah, and again, Trump was like he
I heard a
was
bunch of platitudes and nothingness. So that's not an answer.
yeah, Trump was just merely like he was jabbing. He like jab jab jab, but he didn't like put his body and like torqued it torqued that hook into knocking her out.
Yeah,
There was there's no kill shot, which is sad.
no.
We needed more of that 2016 energy in him again, and it was a mistake for that advisor to tell him to be more presidential. It's like no, all right, we know Trump can be presidential, all right, but right now we need him to be fucking Iron Mike Tyson and knock a bitch out.
Yes. Yes, for real. But yeah, like coming out of the debate, I think there has been some fallout because even as much as they hated to admit it, even CNN was saying it's like she never answered a question. Like they were not favorable towards Kamala Harris, even though like they wanted to be, but they couldn't be. The optics were like, oh yeah, she did not answer a damn question, did she? And well, but Trump did this, but Kamala didn't really answer that question, and you could see that they
Yeah, they're
are
begrudgingly calling strikes
fucking
and balls.
sweating balls. They're sweating their balls right now. Yeah, because of that.
Yeah, CNN was begrudgingly calling strikes and balls, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, which is wild. When I saw that, I was like, "Wait, what is happening here?"
On my apocalypse bingo, I didn't have CNN being fair and balanced.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to live up to their name, like the the most trusted name in
Yeah.
news.
Finally.
Yeah, it's only taken them what 30 years, 40 years since they've been
Right.
around. Yes. But the fallout from this, because one of the things that was a discussion point was what's going on in Springfield, Ohio. We talked about that last week, and the quote unquote rhetoric that that Trump and Vance are being accused of is like, oh, their rhetoric is causing bomb threats, at these schools in Springfield. I think there was 2 bomb threats called in to I don't think it was the same school, but it was 2 schools in general in that community. I don't think that there's too many because it's not a very like large
Right.
town. But and so all week it's been, oh, it's because of the language of Trump and Vance. But what ended up turning out, and this is straight from the I think it's the mayor of the town or some high city official. I don't know if it was the mayor. I think it was the mayor, but he was saying that uh the threats actually they found were fake and that they were from foreign governments. We don't know which foreign governments. Who knows if it was from the Middle East or China. Doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
The fact is thankfully, you know what, to be honest, thank God that they were hoaxes. You know what? I'm really happy that that was the case. I'm glad those kids are safe. That's awesome. That's a
Mhm.
good thing. And that's what should be celebrated. That these were fake calls. We stood at the ready. We will continue to do that. We will take all of these calls seriously, but thankfully these ones were not serious
Mhm.
threats. That's what we should be celebrating and thinking
Right.
about. But what the media all week, despite that information that's out there, has continued to spout how, oh, it's the rhetoric of Trump and Vance that's so evil, and it's causing these bomb threats in Springfield because they made comments about Haitian migrants and eating the cats and the pets in that area. It's like that's not true.
And
That
also,
what are,
let's kind of follow the line of logic there. If what Trump and Vance were saying about Haitians was bad, and presumably it was Haitians who was making the threats, that doesn't make a very good case about these people being allowed into the interior of the country.
and like I said, who know? It could have been from Haiti. I don't know. Like I really, we don't know who is from. That information has not shown itself yet. I don't know if it ever will,
Right, but
and maybe
yeah, but
because
if you take their logic, right, about like these bomb threats or whatever, and like and if someone's like upset with it, you would presume that it would be probably be Haitians, making for Trump and Vance making up these lies about them, and then they go around saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna bomb the fuck out of your schools, and it's just like, should they really be allowed to be in this country then?
would be that's a I think that's a it's a great point.
Because presumably the threats are coming from these angry Haitian people, of Trump making these lies about them, but they're going to the extreme to react in such a way to threaten violence, and so should these people really be in this country then?
You know what's sad though? You know what's sad though? Those people in that area are so browbeaten that they think that if they speak the whole truth that they'll just be considered racist. And it's like, God, I wish the person that ran over my son was white. It's like, I mean, no, seriously though, like that. How fucking sad is that? That they feel that they have to
Uh-huh.
say that. It's like your son died from a person that shouldn't have been in this country. Who gives a fuck where they come from? It's like I don't care that their skin. I don't care that their whatever their skin color is. This person shouldn't have been here, and this should not have happened to
Right.
my kid.
Yeah, and I mean, and the whole
And I
yeah,
want these people
and the
gone.
whole thing about the name calling. At a certain point, you just have to have tougher skin, and you know what?
Who
And
gives a fuck?
also, you have to hit, not literally hit back, but you know, you have to come up with, I think, uh, you have to be funnier than them. And so, if ever, someone said like Say, oh well, you're a human being. You know what if someone calls you a racist or calls you a Nazi or something unfavorable. You know what you should say.
That's all
you know
you
what
got?
you say to them. You know what you say. You look them straight in the eye and you say, after much thought, I decided to be worse. You just just go like after some careful consideration, I just decided to be awful. You know? And just lean into it because they're gonna call you that regardless. Okay, regardless. I get it all the time with that one coworker at my work who starts to screed and be like, oh, Nazi, MAGA. It's like it's like gay MAGA. It's like it's like you racist. It's like what else you got?
For real. At that point, I don't really care what these people think. It's like, okay, fine, sure.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, okay, you called me the name, but that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. Just means that you're an emotional
you're mad because
you're an emotional
wrong.
person. Okay, I'm it's like that's you. That's how you decide to respond. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't make you right.
It's funny because I have a lot of people that I know who are, I would say that they're definitely more center than anything else. That they're independent to a degree, and they don't necessarily like Donald Trump, which is fine. I don't, I don't really care about that. But like a lot of the things that they complain about, it's where it's like, yes, I agree with you. We're on the same page here, and the reason why we have that is because we continue to vote these people in who that is their whole goal, is because they want this voting block that to give these people driver's license, though they're not documented, and while they're getting those driver's license, they are registered to vote, despite the fact that in many places, well, it should be in all places that it's illegal, but there are these sanctuary cities that are, and you have certain cities that are trying to make that a thing in their state, despite it being a federal law that's not, it's unconstitutional. And I mean, we just talked about a couple of weeks ago with that bill that is being trying to be passed, and I don't know if it got signed by Gavin Newsom, the bill that was being proposed in our state legislature to give these illegal migrants essentially free money for housing and all sorts of stuff. That's all money that should be going back into our city that is broke, for one. That shouldn't be going to anybody. That should be going to fix our roads, to make this city not a fucking trash heap that it has become. It's ridiculous. And, it's the other thing is something else too on this campaign trail. We talked about how Kamala Harris has essentially just gone to the swing states. Trump came to California. This is not a swing state of any sort. This is a very heavy blue state. Well, at least the major cities, San Francisco,
metropolitan areas,
Los Angeles.
Well, San Diego's more purple.
But he went to yeah.
But he came. I mean, he did come to LA. I mean, he came out to I don't think it's incorporated, but yeah, he went to Rancho Palos Verdes, where one of his golf courses are. And right now they're dealing with some geological trouble. Like basically the houses are basically eroding right out from under their foundations. But yeah, he still came, and he
went into enemy territory, and he's like, hey, and he fielded questions, just not scripted, not anything like that. It was all off the cuff, and goddamn, dude, he sounded great. Those are great.
Yeah, great answers.
I love how he fielded those questions. Yeah. And it's funny, we did our episode on with Eric with
Mhm.
Chinatown, and how that film is, it's based in the, like, what, the 20s or 30s, and that is still relevant today because it's still going on. They're still just pumping water into the fucking ocean to, to create these, faux
To create
droughts.
scarcity. I mean, if you ever look into it, I mean, this is just in California, but in California, 95% of rainwater is not collected. It's
It's
insane.
insane.
Like we literally only have like 5% of reservoirs and other things to collect rainwater and and stuff like that. But 95% of it is just goes through falls, runs down the gutter into our storm drains and out into the ocean.
My my hope is that if Trump gets elected and the cabinet that I think that he's building up, to get rid of the government waste. Some of these agencies that are a waste on resources, that have been government agencies that have wasted, have created laws to waste resources. We've talked about how farmers are paid to burn crops or to throw, like, essentially throw
Yeah,
stuff away. And we talk about, we have quote unquote, we have these starving people in our populace, yet we are throwing away crops.
yeah,
Why? To keep the price at a certain way? Like, come
yeah.
on.
I mean, what is it? Um, if you think about growing like crops and stuff, it's exponential. Like one tomato seed, like probably one tomato plant, like one ripened tomato, like the number of seeds in it could probably feed like 200 people, right? In just
Yeah.
one tomato, and just multiply that. You have 5 tomatoes. That's 1,000 people you could feed. And then again,
Like, honest,
just do the math.
I would get rid of the FDA. I would take away a lot of our, um, the FBI the FBI and the CIA essentially need to be eliminated, and something starting over again, like, not, like, just get
Yeah.
rid
Well, I
of
would.
all the heads of.
Well, yeah. But what I would do is, I would put strict guide rails on the CIA where they can never operate on U.S. soil, not even like within like as a task force. Because you have that
No.
whole Sicario thing so that Sicario thing never happens, where like the CIA is able to
Yep.
operate as long as they have an FBI agent on like a task force. No,
Yes. Exactly.
strict guardrail.
The
CIA
fact
is
that
never allowed to
yeah,
operate on
exactly.
U.S. soil.
Yeah. Uh, the FBI probably needs to be raised, and, like, something else in its place needs to come up. Essentially, like, start over. Um,
Or
Hell,
really
take the
more,
building to the fucking
it really
ground.
just needs to be decentralized. And I forget like who it was, but there was this one director of the CIA that basically caught the the centralization, like in DC. Like the this one director of the FBI, he started consolidating power and bringing people and promoting people and letting go of people who didn't follow his lead. And so yeah, I think
That wasn't J. Edgar Hoover.
I mean, yeah, I get it, but in modern times, and that's
Yeah, I know, I
but
know what you
yeah,
mean,
and
but
so
it kind of was happening
yeah,
with
yeah,
J.
yeah,
Edgar
yeah,
Hoover, but it did happen. Like, the people who followed him were
yeah,
way worse.
yeah, his dark apostles, as it were. But yeah, I would decentralize the FBI. Not make it so beholden to like the Washington office, and like make it so like each like regional office was like pretty much autonomous to itself.
Yeah,
Because that's really because if you think about how the founders set up the government, it's everything was broken up. Everything was supposed to be a check and a balance. So the executive, was beholden to the legislature. The legislature was beholden to the judiciary, and constantly checking each other.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, the original idea of the FBI is not a bad idea. It really is not a bad
right,
idea. Just because the idea of that, all these separations of states
right,
and having them have power over themselves, but unfortunately, you would get criminals who would try to exploit that
right. Because I think
and
I think the most powerful thing that the FBI does is share intel. And so, like the field office in San Francisco, you know, uh, there's some sort of series of murders that are happening in Arizona, and then there's like a trail that leads to San Francisco. San Francisco and Phoenix, they could like exchange information and then catch the guy. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's a great idea. That was the idea of the FBI. And obviously it has completely gone way overboard now. But yeah, like I would say like that needs to change. Um, there needs to be we need to get rid of I think the central banks and the IRS that needs to change. Uh, to be honest,
Well,
what really needs to happen is a flat tax. That's what needs to happen. Like where it's like a percentage of a person's income. So let's say it's 15% of someone's income, regardless of like whatever they earn in like in revenue.
yeah, $10,
You're paying
ten
15%.
dollars to 10 million.
Yeah, because right now, like what we're paying is just egregious.
Right.
I think like I'm paying close. We're paying close to 50% of my 50% of my salary right now is going to taxes, both state and federal. That's insane.
Mm, I, w- I wouldn't propose something as drastic as getting rid of the Federal Reserve, at least not yet. But definitely curtailing of their powers would be appropriate. Because I mean, for better or worse, the Federal Reserve is kind of keeping everything afloat right now.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
but but see, here's
so
the thing though, like
I'm not against, I'm not saying that I'm against you about getting rid of it. I think, but it should be a gradual step, until something else is able to take its place. So I think, for one thing, they should be, the ability to print money should be taken away from them. Um,
yes.
yeah, because because like literally, yeah, and like the name is a misnomer because the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the federal government. All right, people, just first and foremost. And so I think one of the first things we should, have them, curtail. One of the things that we should curtail is their ability to print money, because that's how we, have like, inflation, and that's how we constantly devaluation of our money. We're now like 50, it's a dollar is worth a dollar, but in a year or two, it's a dollar is like the same thing as 50 cents.
Yeah. That's why when you talk about like money back in the 1910s, where like you have somebody who has like $1,000. Well, in today's money, well, there shouldn't be any today's money. Like in today's money, it's worth like $20 million. Not quite
Yeah, not that.
that bad, but
That's crazy
it's
inflation.
but it's like it's the fact that like it's there's such a difference between money from 1910 to 2010, like 100 years later. I can understand like a little bit of inflation, but like it seems like it has exponentially grown year after year after year after year after year.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, why is there such a thing as in today's money? There was always like there's always an adjustment for inflation. I mean, like, yeah, like think about even like in movies. Like Titanic was the biggest box office hit in forever, and then when they talk about it, it's like, oh, this, in today's money, like that like 500 million is now like a billion and a half. It's like, why?
That's crazy. That's like 25 years
Yeah.
ago.
And and it's like it's not that long ago.
Not that long ago. Yeah.
But so right now at least some curtailment of the Federal Reserve would be appropriate. Once we get things a little bit more stabilized and we're able to properly replace it with something else.
No more money to honestly, like no more funding to foreign governments for a while. I'm not, like you said, we can keep for now. I would say like just because this is gonna be a long process. For now, you keep your like a lot of like the benefit the safety net benefits that come with the country for American citizens. That's fine. As much as I don't like a lot of them. But as far as like, we don't need to be giving $150 billion to Ukraine. Like, there's no reason for that. Like, let them fucking fight their own fight. And if they lose, who gives a fuck? Um, Israel's doing fine. Like, we support them fighting for themselves. Uh, that's all that we need to worry about. You know what? You know what you can do to take away China's power?
Bring back the
We start
manufacturing.
building up our own. Yeah, we bring manufacturing to this country, but especially with you bring in some consultants from Taiwan to teach us how to build these powerful supercomputer chips that they build over in Taiwan, which is like, for whatever reason, that is the one place in the world, and that's why it is such a contention point right now. That's a hotbed, that why China wants to take them over. I mean, they always have wanted to do that, and they choose not to recognize them as a country. But you know how you stop that is that you take away that power by you start building stuff like that in this country. The fact that we shouldn't be relying on any other country for anything at all. And like, when we do have to rely on that, like, it's a fair exchange between these countries. Like the fact we talked about this back in, God, a couple of years ago, with like the whole, like, we don't make our own fucking fertilizer that's in Russia. Why? Why is Russia making our fertilizer? And so now, like, the price of fertilizer has gone skyrocketing because of the Ukraine war. And so that makes all of our other products that utilize fertilizer that are grown in the ground
Yeah, I
to
mean,
go up because
have
of
you
that.
wondered why your salad is more expensive? That's
This
why,
is
because the
why.
cost of the fertilizer went up, which then hits the farmer, which then he has to then offset that by raising the prices, which then means the processor of the crops has to charge more, which then to the distributor, and then to the grocery store, and then to the and then also because of increased wages, like the increased minimum wage, keeps going up. That that has to factor in, and so
And you know what all is because you have the people in power, our politicians who are in power, who play the global stock market. You have people who are involved with defense contract countries. So war is money for a lot of people. Nikki Haley is a big one. So they will
yeah,
off because obviously they want war to continue. But then the people who are not involved with defense contract companies, they're invested in the global stock market, and they want these. Oh, well, I'm investing in these futures on this commodity over here, and because this war is going on, they kind of already know that stuff's going to happen, or they anticipate it's going to happen, and so they invest in certain futures markets on things that are happening. So a lot of people in power are making money, and it's not you.
yeah. Yeah, and
And
yeah,
it's
even
because
the
you
Russia-Ukraine war. That's money laundering. Because we send them the money, then they use that money to buy the weapons, and then the defense contractors, they're the ones who get paid, which then get again another stage of the launder is that it gets filtered back down to the politicians whom they lobby to keep the war going.
you're right. It's a money laundering scheme, and everyone's getting rich, and it's not the American
No,
people.
it's not us. And think about it. Think about
And
it.
but
When Trump when Trump passed
but
that,
they
hold on.
keep the American people fighting over race and
Yeah,
other
yeah, yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. Distraction. But think about when Trump was in office and he, passed those tax breaks, and it was giving people like an extra $1,000, in their bank account, and Nancy Pelosi comes out and like, oh, $1,000, that's just crumbs. Yeah, well,
Well, for
yeah,
me,
to,
it's
to
not.
Nancy Pelosi who makes like
With her like $50,000
yeah,
fridge
filled with
freezer
chocolate
that she
ice
puts her
cream,
ice
yeah, with her
cream in.
chocolate ice cream. Yeah, $1,000 is crumbs to her. But to a lot of people, $1,000 is a credit card payment, or getting their kids braces, or you know, um, was it putting in a new roof?
Yeah, or I can finish paying off my
Yeah,
car.
yeah, that much. Yeah,
Seriously, like $1,000 to me is like, fuck, I could use another $1,000
right.
right now. Actually, that's some more movies for me.
Yeah.
No,
More fishing lures for
uh,
me. Or maybe, yeah,
yeah, exactly, yeah,
maybe even a
exactly,
couple
man.
of rods and new reel.
But even like on a more practical level, like no, it's I can invest that $1,000 more in like my retirement accounts or what something like actually or put into my
Hmm.
savings. Like it's not nothing.
Right.
And that builds up over time like that like an extra $1,000 like a month, that's huge. That might give me I could because I'm living off of like what I'm doing right now, which is not the best, but an extra $1,000 a month, that's if I put that in the savings, like that ends up over a couple of years, that ends up becoming a down payment on a house.
Exactly.
I mean, that's obviously the goal for me. Like I want to buy a house. Right now it's not the uh it's not in the cards like for the next few years, but that's the goal. I don't want to rent forever. I want to own my own home. Although if BlackRock gets their way, like well, no one will own anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, those of you who don't know, yeah, BlackRock and like other what is it?
Vanguard and
Other
like
like
there's all these.
mutual fund like managing companies. They are the ones who own majority of the of single family homes. And what and
And
they're like
this is
Smog
where
the Dragon just sitting on them, and not doing with them, not doing anything with them or
they're the Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. It's because everyone else is failing, so because maybe through manufactured means like COVID, and so because they have all this money, are able to kind of wait out the
Mhm.
problems, and they're waiting for you to sell pennies on the dollar on something or default on your whatever your loan is or whatever, and so they're gonna they're gonna buy up all this stuff because they know that they're gonna make that money back like 20-fold. So they're buying up properties or they're taking advantage of people who can't make those payments. That's what
Yep.
happens. And people don't like it's funny how true to nature films can be sometimes. That they well, yes, is it a fictional story with fictional characters? Yes. but the themes are real.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I bring this up all the time, but there was I think it was a study, but what was it? People like yeah, when people are shown like injustice and wrongdoing in movies, they're like, oh yeah, obviously, yeah, that's wrong. But when it happens in real life, they're like, no way that could actually happen, and
Conspiracy
conspiracy theory,
theory.
and a part of me, a little conspiracy theory about that. It's like the reason why they do those movies is so people get the sense that that there is justice in the world, but that it can never happen, because it only happens in the movies. It doesn't happen in real life, or
You
or
know,
it's
it's
that
thankfully
it's
I
almost
don't
that wish fulfillment thing where it's like, oh, because you see it in a movie, you get that sense where like, yes, kind of like in Captain America: Winter Soldier, where it's revealed that Hydra was working behind the scenes within Shield this entire time, and it wasn't just like in Shield, but like in like the entire rest of the U.S. government. And then all the bad guys, they get caught and they get arrested, and so like, oh, see, yeah, see, justice was done. And so like that desire in me was fulfilled. So when it happens in real life, we don't recognize it.
yeah, you get like 3 Days of the Condor, yeah, Captain America and Winter Soldier, Serpico. I mean, all these things where corruption is the human condition. Corruption is all over the place. Yet it's like, oh, that's just the movies. It's not real life. It's like, well, it kind of, yeah, it is actually. And these people, and that, and the thing is, like, when you look behind the scenes and people talking about these movies, they know it's real. That's why they're making a movie about it.
Right. I mean, it's funny because early on in like the lockdowns and stuff, um, when like they're talking about like the aliens, there's classified information that's being released, like, oh, the aliens are real, and I think that was a bit of a distraction. And
Yes,
yeah,
it
and I
was.
remember on Facebook I put under that thing, under that article in the comment section, I was like, oh yeah, I seen this one. It's when Will Smith gets together with you know um,
Jeff
yeah,
Goldblum.
or I made something preposterous like with Michael J. Fox, and then they find it, they fight the aliens, and and it was actually the laughter, the sound of laughter that that could kill aliens. And so they got Robin Williams, and they broadcasted his comedy specials for 24 hours and killed all the aliens. It's like something absurd was like, that's what it was. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, aliens. It's like, yeah, I seen this one. It's like, and so it's like these scripts. And I think now, like, because of internet and because the ability to share information is so fast now, that they can't get away with their scripts anymore. And so that's why, and that's why, like, kind of circling back a little bit, but that's why institutions like ABC News, they're losing viewers, because they can now see they can see almost in real time that they're full of shit, and that
Yeah.
they can see past the scripts now, that the deep state or global cabal, or a shadowy organization in the background are trying to put out. So he's like, oh yeah, I've seen this one. It's a thing with the disease, and like like, oh, grandma's gonna die. Oh,
It's funny, and I don't think it's necessarily a global cabal or whatever, but like I think there's in governments in general, there is a cabal of people who want to hold on to power in like their little
mhm.
vacuum, and some are
Yeah,
more
or
powerful
yeah,
than
in
others.
their little kingdoms. It's all satanic.
Yeah.
It's all.
I mean, that's also why, like, you have, because you have all these like little small countries. Why do you think the European Union
Right.
exists? Because they do want to, in their little purview, they want to create like this world hegemony that is like this one world government, like we see in like Futurama, like it's the United States of
Right. Yeah.
Earth. That's
Yeah.
what they want to.
It's oh my god, that's what it is. It's the United States of Europe.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah, and it's all USE. United States of Earth. USE. United States of Europe. Again, it's a script. It's a script.
Yeah, I think Matt Groening was onto something with Futurama. But like even in like Orson Scott Card talks about this in his Ender's Game series, because he created essentially two different series in the same universe where he follows Ender and like his adventures after Ender's Game, and then there's Ender's Shadow, which is Bean, and that follows the what's going on Earth while all that after like the after effects on Earth of what's going on there. And I actually find the Ender's Shadow series much more interesting because I think that that's definitely where world politics are going, where there is going to be this one world government. Not anytime soon, but we're definitely on that trajectory if we don't change. To be honest, I think the United States of America is the one thing that is keeping that in check.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, as much as we bitch and stuff, I
If
think the system.
if we fall as a country, that will be on a fast course to a one world government.
As much as I don't like how certain players are acting, in our government, and and how corruptible it seems that the system that was established is. I think it's robust enough. The system that was established, I think, is robust enough uh, to endure. Um, for, I mean, not forever, mind you, because that is folly, and the fate of all empires is to eventually end, and so sometime in the future, the United States may no longer be, but it's I don't think it's anytime soon. Um, and again, I think the system that the founders put forward is robust enough to withstand. And I think if we just as American citizens, if we took ownership of it again and asserted our will, I think we'd be able to right the ship, as it were, a lot faster than we think.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, yeah, a little bit of a white pill for you guys, right there. Yeah, we kind of deviated from the original topic, but yeah, it happens sometimes.
Hey, that's all right, man.
But yeah, going back a little bit to the rhetoric, they complain about Donald Trump and JD Vance's rhetoric, but like think about the rhetoric that the talking heads and the media institutions and politicians have been spewing about Trump for the last 8 years. It's all this hyperbolic, it's all this hyperbolic. It's like, oh, we need to end Trump. We need to, we have to utterly destroy.
Hitler was duly elected.
What was that?
They're like, oh, Hitler was duly elected.
Well, it's like, but just think about but more specific to like his recent assassination attempts. Like, oh, we have to utterly destroy Trump, or we have to put Trump in the crosshairs, or we have to we have to never let him rise.
Yeah, we have
to make sure he never rises again. You want to talk about inflammatory rhetoric? You might want to look in the mirror.
The South shall rise again. Just a lot of the Confederacy. That was a lot of Democrats, by the way.
There's a reason why they were called. They were referred to as Dixiecrats. There's a reason.
Yeah. Now, like we have talked a lot on this podcast about like how I think a lot of people that were in the South were um unfairly looked at. It's really the only that there's a certain for lack of better terms, a cabal of people in the South who had a lot of wealth and they owned the slaves because we had interviews of other soldiers from the Confederacy that before they passed away did interviews on radio. It's like, why did you fight for the South? And it's like, well, they gave the reason. And it wasn't to them, it wasn't this like lost cause. And to be honest, the South wasn't just fighting for because they wanted to preserve slavery. I'm sure there were some people within the powers that be that certainly wanted to do that, but I think it was more than just that. But for the sake of our argument, all these people that they are like, oh, talking about like we can't allow this rise to power, or like we need to, they want to continue their rise to, their the power that they're getting. And it's like it's the same talking points that these Confederates were saying back over 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they want to take out the this person who is wanting to who is espousing that he wants to make the country a better place. He's already he did it 8 years ago, and they don't want that to happen again because he exposed a lot of these people for what they were: the media, the institutions, the Uniparty. Because even people within that claim that they're Republicans hate him too because they're also part of this thing. It's like I said, it's a facade that a lot of these people have put up for. I mean, how many years? How long has Mitch McConnell been in office? Like 70 years? I mean, it's some ridiculous. He's been in office for way
Yeah,
too
I
long.
mean, and
It's
look
just
at all the people now who are like all the supposed Republicans that are supporting Kamala now. I mean, the Cheneys, Romney, I think recently came out and supported her.
Yeah.
I forget who else, but I mean, those are like some of the most prominent ones.
I don't think
no, the Bushes.
I don't think
The Bushes have been
come out
quiet.
and said
The
that,
Bushes
but
have
like
stayed quiet, which is smart. But yeah, think about like, people. You got people. You have to cultivate a memory. All right. Um, and I'm old enough to remember this, but I remember when Dick Cheney was likened to the devil. All right. He was the Darth Vader. He was the Palpatine to George Bush's Darth Vader. All right, he was a secret puppet master behind it all, making all the decisions, and he was the one that killed 3 million people in Iraq and blah blah blah. But then as soon as he comes out to support Kamala Harris, all of a sudden he becomes, Dick Cheney, the grand, elder statesman comes and stands up for democracy by endorsing.
They made a fucking movie about how evil he was. Christian Bale starred as him. It's like
all this, the grand old statesman who came out to defend democracy and put his support behind Kamala Harris. Like he's on the right side of history here. It's like you called him the devil. You call this man the devil.
It's so stupid. He did shoot a man in the face, by the way.
Yeah, but it was birdshot. So I mean, that doesn't count.
So, he shot a man in the face. I'm sorry.
Yeah, look that up, people, before they memory hole it. All right, Dick Cheney shot a guy in the face.
It's the fact that like that's why like it's all a farce because now he's almost like their hero because he's on their side. And even like the ones that aren't necessarily, on endorsing Kamala Harris, they're not really Republicans. I'm sorry, like Lindsey Graham, no. He's not there's nothing conservative about that man at all. Mitch McConnell, there's nothing conservative about that guy. They are as
They're as corrupt as that we think
yeah.
that the Democrats are. They're just as you know.
And it's this farce that, like, oh, well, we have two separate parties, and like the ones that have subscribed to this side or this side, and that's just the way it is. And like they, well, I mean, this has been happening longer than we've been alive. Just like these people have been in party for longer than we've been alive, Andy.
This is true.
That's the other sad part about it. See, these guys have been. How long have our ruling class, both in Congress, Senate, what have you, they have been in their position forever.
Yeah, my local congressman. Yeah, he's still in office, and he visited my school, my middle school in the late '90s.
Dude, I think it's.
Yeah, Brad Sherman.
He's
Brad
still
Sherman.
our
He's still our congressman.
Yeah, Brad Sherman has been our congressman for God knows how long.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
He was probably in office well before, like, he came to visit me, in middle school.
I'm gonna say it's been 30 years.
Yeah, at least.
I've met Brad Sherman. He's kind of an asshole. Okay, because so when you visit the Capitol building, which I did about a little over 10 years ago now, you have to get kind of a invite from like a congressman or something along those lines to get in there. Obviously, we're from California, and our congressman is Brad Sherman, so we had to get his approval for that. So I had to meet the guy, and he's kind of an asshole.
Wait, were you older?
I didn't like him, but so I was so this was 2012,
okay,
so I
you're an
was
adult.
30. I was an adult, but I was like I kept my mouth shut, but I think he's an asshole. I didn't say it's like, oh, it's nice to meet you, sir. You're a dick.
Right.
I didn't say that. I just thought it. Because I did want to tour the Capitol. That's like,
right. Yeah, you withstood a fart just to get what you wanted.
Yeah, it's like I have in my adult life I have never voted for that man.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as very recently, I tried to vote him out.
I have been trying to vote this man out for, oh God, 15 years at least. Because he's terrible. Like he's done nothing.
No record to stand on. Nothing. Yeah.
I mean, think of like I would poll any Californian who has Brad Sherman as their congressman. What has he done for you? What policy? What has he done to improve your life in Congress?
How has he represented you? And they can't, because they never can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anything else to add to this last topic?
No, I got nothing else to add on that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. With that, the end of topics. Let's get into our movie review and end the night on a high.
Let's do it.
Let me hit everyone with the synopsis. Remind you guys, we'll be reviewing Vampire in Brooklyn, starring Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett, Kadeem Hardison, John Witherspoon, the late great John Witherspoon, just to name a few. Yeah, let me hit everyone with the synopsis and we'll get going. In the wake of her mother's death in a mental institution, Detective Rita Vedder is assigned a baffling serial murder case. After examining the crime scene, a corpse-filled ship found adrift at sea, Rita meets Maximilian, a smooth-talking Caribbean playboy determined to romance her. When Rita begins suffering from crippling hallucinations, she calls upon Dr. Zico, an occultist who suspects a vampire is on the loose. This movie was released in October of 1995. Was directed by Wes Craven. Horror master Wes Craven. It was actually written by the Murphys. Eddie and Charlie are credited as writers on this movie. And that's about the only trivia I have on that.
I literally had no idea that the main screenwriter for this was the late great Charlie Murphy, which is awesome. I had no idea that this was a Wes Craven film either.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, because when I was
was
watching it, and all of a sudden, as soon as his name popped out, I was like, "Holy crap! This is a Wes Craven movie."
Yeah, it was wild. I was like, Wes Craven did this? Hell yeah, man! And because this is, I know he. I think this was the film where he was like, he didn't want to do horror anymore. He wanted to do something, maybe like, kind of branch out a little bit. And when they approached him to do Scream, he was like, I'm done with horror. I don't want to do it, because he was the first intended director. I think he was one of the first intended directors for that film. And he's like, listen, we're going to give you a lot of money. You can do whatever you want, but we want you to do this. He's like, oh, okay. So, and that's why Scream kind of became more of the kind of a, not necessarily a parody of horror, but like it was poking fun at horror franchises in general.
It was a finger in the eye to like all the tropes and what have you about horror movies.
Which is like what the Scream franchise became, which is great. I to be honest, all the Scream films that are out right now, I like them. I don't know if I want a seventh one. I think it needs to die, especially all the problems that are going on with that franchise right now. I think we should be over with it. But anyways, I don't know how well received this movie was. I don't think from what I remember, this is a film that I don't think it did okay in the box office, but I don't know if it performed super well. But I actually think that this is a really interesting adaptation on it hits all the highlights of what you want in a vampire film. It's Dracula, essentially. But it's maybe like an elevated version of Blackula to a degree. And it's all the tropes that you want. You have your Renfield, you have your female character that is desired by Dracula. Although in this case, it's Maximilian.
You have the Harkers, and, Mina and God, what's the what was Keanu's character?
Oh, it's
William Harker?
It was William Harker. It was
you had your Van Helsing character and Dr. Zico.
Yeah, so you have Angela Bassett and Alan Payne are essentially the Harkers. You have whatchamacallit, the hell played his Renfield.
Kadeem Hardison.
Yeah, Kadeem Hardison, who played Julius. Oh, the late great John Witherspoon. I love him, man.
He's great.
I miss him as an actor. He's such an amazing actor, and he's kind of the comedic relief a little bit. Him and Kadeem. kind of are. Julius Jones is kind of the comedic aspect of this. You'd actually think that would be Eddie Murphy. He's not the comedy
Yeah,
guy in this
he's not the
one.
butt. He's not the butt.
It's Kadeem and John Witherspoon. Um, it's funny, they have Ray Combs as like one of the actors in this only
Yeah,
because
they played an old
at the
episode
beginning
of
of the film they're watching Family Feud. I thought that was hilarious. It's like they have him in the cast
Yeah.
list just because they showed a clip from Family Feud. But yeah, you essentially have the Demeter, the ship that Maximilian is traveling on. And like I don't think they do the rats, but they do the wolf. And so all like I said, all the tropes are there. So it hits all the beats that you want, but I think it's done in a different enough package with a bunch of great acting from. I think Eddie Murphy is fantastic as essentially Count Dracula. They call him he's Maximilian in this, but it's Count Dracula. It's you have Angela Bassett is awesome in this, kind of a nice early role for her. Alan Payne, who is in from like New Jack City, he's kind of like this lesser known actor that I kind of would have loved to have seen do more stuff. He's really good in this, and yeah, just like John Witherspoon, Kadeem Harrison is really good. I really like this movie, man. I was just like, oh man, it's hitting all the things I want from a vampire movie. It is Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's just done in a kind of this like, but it's also a hood film at the same time. Oh, you have the guys that Maximilian attacked, the Italian gangsters that he attacks at the beginning. You have the I forget his name, but he's the head agent in X-Files.
Yeah. Also, he would also go on to play commander of in Stargate Atlantis. He's the
That's
he's the
right.
commander
Yeah,
of
I
the he's
forgot
the
about
commander of the
that.
USS Daedalus.
Yeah, a great TV actor. Just I don't know if he
Mitch
didn't do
Pileggi.
a
There
lot of
you go.
film,
That's his
but
name, Mitch Pileggi.
yeah. He was awesome. Yeah, just for like he's in the film for 5 minutes and he's awesome. I was like, oh man, I forgot about this actor. He's got to be dead now too, right? I mean, or at least very old.
Let's do a quick little Google search. No, he's still kicking around. Yeah,
He's still kicking around.
At least
Okay.
Wikipedia says he's 72. Yeah.
Really? God, he looked like he was in his like 50s back in the 90s.
It might have been his bald head.
That might
balding does age you.
That is true. Well, so here's the thing though. If he was fully bald, he would look okay. Like he would still look young, but he has like the side hair.
He has the cul-de-sac.
I'd never heard it put that way. That's exactly what it is. It's the cul-de-sac. Yeah, the cul-de-sac makes you look like 20 years older than you actually are. You didn't seem to be as high on this film. What are your thoughts on this film?
What was it? The comedic elements just kind of like threw me off a bit. And being familiar as I am with Eddie Murphy's filmography and work, it'll like because he does the same thing he's been, especially in the 90s. He does the same thing he's been doing, and even in the 80s actually, because Coming to America and The Nutty Professor and this movie, and there was another movie, but he basically plays multiple characters, with different makeup.
The Nutty
Yeah, he played.
Professor.
Yeah, he played like majority of his family. He played his mom. He played his dad. He played his brother. He played his grandmother. The only other person, in the especially in the dinner table scenes was the little brother or the little son. It's like Hercules, Hercules.
Yeah.
He was like. Other than that, yeah, the mom,
God.
the dad,
I haven't seen that
yeah, the
film
mom, the dad, the grandma,
forever.
and the brother were all played by Eddie Murphy, along with the character of Sherman Klump.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you seen the original Nutty Professor, by the way, with Jerry
not
Lewis?
in its entirety. I've seen clips, but not in its entirety.
Okay.
But what is it? Yeah, it kind of reminded. Yeah, he was doing like what he had been doing, like Coming to America. He played multiple characters. Nutty Professor, he played multiple characters, and even in this movie, he played multiple characters.
Wait, didn't he also do Dr. Dolittle as well?
Yeah, yes,
the remake
he did.
of
But he
that,
didn't play multiple characters in that one.
which is also a Jerry
Yeah.
Lewis. Dude, he did a lot of Jerry Lewis remakes. Look, what the fuck?
Yeah, he sure did. But yeah, the comedic element of this kind of threw me, and yeah, it was kind of weird that he wasn't like the main driver of the comedy, and Kadeem Hardison, who was the Renfield, he was the one being the comedic relief. Um, yeah, so it kind of threw me it kind of left me a little unsatisfied.
Here's what I do agree with you to a degree. I would have liked a little bit less comedy from Kadeem Harrison, Julius Jones's Julius Jones. As him turning into a ghoul. I would have liked that to be a little bit more serious, just because Renfield. Although, next week that's going to change this up a little bit, because that's a different Renfield that I do like the comedy aspect of. But this version of Renfield, which is kind of based off of all the other adaptations of Renfield, which is a very serious character who is driven mad because of Dracula gave him a certain amount of power, but like it's maddening to it, like where you're having to eat bugs, and
right, because
you're almost at the same power, but you're not the same power.
Well, because it also might be a physiological thing, where it's like the human body can't withstand that power, and so, or like it can't, it's not able to control that power because he's not a full vampire. He's like, he's not a vampire, but he's not a human. And so he's like in this weird middle place, and so like the powers that he is able to have just like kind of deteriorate his body.
I would have liked to have seen, because he's not in the film very long. He maybe like 10 minutes in the film. John Witherspoon's character should have been the quote unquote comic relief, because he did great in those few moments that he was in there, and then you leave everyone else serious.
Right. Yeah, because he could be like, Kadeem Hardison's character Julius, he could have been like, very serious and like kind of the one going mad, and then John Witherspoon's character could be the one like commenting. He could be the chorus, or like
he's the audience. So he should John Witherspoon should be the audience. Silas.
Silas.
That's his. Silas should be the audience. Mm-hmm. And he's only in there for a little bit. It's like, this is fucking crazy. Yeah. It's like something along those. But just because John Witherspoon, I love that man so much.
Genius.
He really is, and well, he's also like, he's a really intelligent man. Like I listened to it before he passed away. I listened to an interview with him when we were doing our Friday review. I listened to this interview with him, and it's like, this guy is so smart, and he's very funny, but like he's also very, he knows what he wants to do in a film, and he's very smart about it. And he does play these comedic characters, but like he really is a very, very smart man.
Yeah.
and very
He's
thoughtful.
I think he is what Warren Benjamin would call a comedic engineer. He knows how to make things funny. Like certain
Yes.
like whether it's like a body movement or an accent or like a certain kind of way of speaking, but like he understands like how to make things funny. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I yeah,
yeah,
so I think that's where
absolutely.
like his genius comes from. It's yeah, he's an engineer. He knows how to make things funny. Like doing something, punching something up like with a physical gesture or a facial tick or something. And it's like that makes it fun. It makes it funnier.
Yeah. Well, you also have to, and you're talking about how Eddie Murphy like not being like the comedic drive of the film, but he does play multiple parts in this film because he's Preacher
Right, Preacher
Polly.
Polly.
He
Yeah.
does take over the which like that is him trying to be that is like the comedic elements of Eddie Murphy
Right.
there. Cause he I'll be honest, that I fucking laughed my ass off with like him playing
Yeah,
Preacher
yeah,
Polly.
yeah.
Oh my god. He also does take over the body of one of the Italian
Yeah.
mobsters, like because they have his Maximilian, Preacher Polly, and
Yeah, yeah,
Guido.
yeah.
It's not, which but so he does do some comedic stuff in there, which is
Mm.
fun. I think this is kind of the era of Eddie Murphy trying to be like a Jerry Lewis or Peter Sellers
Mm-hmm.
type of like acting,
Right.
which he does very well, to be honest. Like it's funny. But I would say like I liked him as Maximilian. I liked the seriousness that he brought to that, just
Yeah,
because
that that I
that's what
that I
the
that I
the
did enjoy.
yeah, the majority of what he's playing is
Mm.
Maximilian, and he does a very good job in
Yeah.
that.
You
And
know,
I would have,
yeah.
to be
I
honest,
I
if he didn't
really
play,
didn't like his Guido though. I thought that was his weakest. That was his weakest
no,
performance.
that was bad. Preacher Polly was
Yeah.
fun. I laughed my
Mm-hmm.
ass off at that part, but I also could have been like, we could have had another actor in like Charlie Murphy should have played Preacher Polly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That would have been fucking
Right.
hilarious. Uh, or and then maybe you get one of the Wayans brothers to play like Guido or something like that. Like something have other people in those roles just for like like just for that small
Mm-hmm.
part, and you you change expectations for Eddie Murphy. You make him more him being more
Mm-hmm.
serious. Despite like that, there are comedic elements to
Yeah, I
this
mean,
film,
don't get me
which
wrong.
are
Yeah, in his seriousness and dryness, he does deliver some funny lines. Like, when that first, the when he first, no, not first, but when he finally seduces Angela Bassett's character, um, and then what is it? She run after like she gets bit, and then she runs out of the apartment, and he's like he's like kind of exasperated with like the whole situation. It's like women, it's like
yeah.
because of her reaction. It's like that was funny.
Yeah, it was. So so this is according to Charlie
Mm-hmm.
Murphy. Uh the movie was actually going to be a straight
Uh
horror
huh.
film, and there was going to be no laughs, but Wes Craven was the one that brought that kind of different
Mm-hmm.
focus to it. And I think this is where Wes Craven was tired of doing straight up
Right.
horror films. He wanted to do something different, and obviously we get that with Scream in the very next
Mm-hmm.
year. But he also said that because Maximilian wasn't going to have any redeeming qualities, but Wes taught us that we must get the audience to care about our characters, and even if they didn't know any vampires personally, they would at least have to identify with the type of person he
Mm-hmm.
was. And honestly, I would have rather seen him just be straight up evil. Like it's like, yes, that's the character we're
Mm-hmm.
following, but he's evil. That's fine. Like I don't understand. Like
Yeah.
we have films where we follow bad characters, and we don't have to like them, but like we are intrigued by
Yeah, I
them.
mean, yeah.
You know,
Well,
like
after
you
you
said,
just said that,
and vampires are supposed to be, they're supposed to draw you in and be alluring, and you want to, like, you're drawn by their personality, yet they are evil.
yeah. After you said that, after you read that quote, I was thinking of God, yeah, that movie, No Country for Old Men, and Javier Bardem's character. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's the most evil.
he's the most
Yeah,
popular character from
exactly.
that
But
movie.
you're drawn to him, and you're following him, and you care about, like, what he's doing and whether or not he's going to succeed. And so in that same way, like, yeah, you could have they could have had that for Eddie Murphy's Maximilian if they just stuck with the straight horror.
Yeah. And Eddie Murphy said this also about the film too. Like, I've always wanted to do something where I was the villain in the movie. I love horror pictures, and I was a big fan of Wes Craven. The movie started out as something small. This was a movie my company was just going to produce, and the screenplay came together so well that I thought it would be a fun role to play because I got to do something kind of scary and had a safety net because the vampire can turn into other people. I get to be funny when I'm the preacher, which is absolutely true. He's hilarious in that role. And I get to be funny when I'm the Italian guy. And the vampire is pretty straight. And I get all these got all these funny stuff happening around me. I felt it was a unique piece to do. And I do agree with that. Like, that's kind of that's I think we both see like the vision that is there that Eddie Murphy did. Maybe he wasn't initially, he was just going to be a producer on this, but because he found it enticing that he was able to get Wes Craven, and he is like, well, if Wes Craven's going to do it, maybe I should be in the movie. And so it became a bigger project than he was maybe intending. And maybe that's where it doesn't quite work. Like, they had like this initial vision and kind of making more of like a neo blaxploitation Blackula, and it kind of didn't quite work out the way that they were intending initially. They're like, "Oh well, like, we got this idea," and you're putting all these big ideas together, and you get in a room, and it sounds like it's gonna be awesome, and then it doesn't maybe quite work out the way that you think. And like I said, I still really enjoy this film, but I could see where this maybe had a different vision that would have been better, but they went the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like having Wes Craven as your director, who is essentially, like, he's kind of tired of
Yeah.
horror. He wants to maybe go more like the kind of maybe horror comedy slash thriller route, which he did with like movies like Red Eye and stuff like that, which is a great movie. We should do that, by the way. But it's maybe getting somebody different to do the film, or yeah, I don't know who. I'm trying to think of like of that era. Maybe get a black director, like, doing like this. If you're trying to do like this neo blaxploitation Blackula, get like a Mario Van Peebles who did like New Jack City. You already have like one of his actors that was in there with Alan Payne. Get him to come in and direct because he's a great director. Um, but the Hughes brothers weren't like really around at this point, so you couldn't really
Yeah.
get them. But like,
Maybe
I
John
think
Singleton.
getting, yeah, that would have been good. Because this is a few years after his big film
Boys in the Hood.
with Boys in the Hood. Get like somebody, like, get one of them, and just, you can make this like a really strong, blaxploitation, neo blaxploitation film that is also mainstream and has has like a high budget. It had like a $15 million
Yeah, and
budget.
I mean,
But
in
you could
terms
also
of
do
comedy, there's no bigger name than Eddie Murphy. Even, like, you might say that by the mid '90s, his
Eddie Murphy was
yeah,
still
yeah,
a big
exactly.
draw in '95. So I think you would have the money with Eddie Murphy in the lead. You'd have a really fantastic director in John Singleton, who has a great look, and you make it a serious horror film. And I think maybe that it maybe have like a small some comic relief with Silas, just kind of he's kind of the audience like this
Right,
motherfucker's
yeah.
crazy. It's like,
Mhm.
along those lines. Just because that's the type of actor he is, and he's great in those roles. I think that would have made this a better movie. That would have made a 5-star movie as opposed to what I'm probably going to end up rating it.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, like what do you like? But what do you like about the film, Andy? Before obviously we've been
Yeah,
kind of saying
we're
a
kind of
lot about the
poo-pooing it.
negatives. What do you like about the film?
Uh, what is it? Yeah, I like. What is it? I like the. Sorry, folks. Long day. Uh, the atmosphere. There you go. I don't know why it took me so long to think of this word, but I like the atmosphere of this movie. Um, it definitely feels, yeah, because like in the one thing that I would say that they did were able to achieve in the horror element was the darkness of it. Because like when Max would kill people, like he really killed them. Like there's that scene
Yeah.
with the roommate, who he ends up killing, and it's like, and it's pretty brutal, and it's like, and then you have like that kind of fake out where it's like at first you think they're having sex or whatever, and then like you have cries of ecstasy, and then you have cries of like utter terror.
Pain.
Uh, yeah,
Like blood
yeah,
like
so much
flowing out the
blood. That's
keyhole.
yeah,
No, fuck yeah, dude. That was
yeah.
so
That was like,
cool.
yeah. So like the atmosphere of this movie was really well done.
And like she was thinking that she was thinking that her roommate, who
Yeah,
was a whore, was fucking
yeah. The love
her
interest.
love interest,
Yeah,
her partner.
and if I remember correctly, there was no real scenes during the day. It was all like
No, I
every
think
scene
there's
pretty
a
much took place at night.
God, that had to have been really
Yeah.
tough on people. So I know filming it was a 2-month shoot, essentially. It was 55 days. Only 3 were spent in New York City. The rest were in Los
Mhm.
Angeles. I imagine like a lot of the outdoor scenes were done in those 3 days in New York. I think all the indoor scenes, which is like where the majority of the film takes place, were done in
That
Los
makes
Angeles
sense.
on
Yeah.
sets. That makes sense. I think that's where, um, because I a lot of the outdoor scenes seem like that's
Yeah.
New York. That's it didn't feel like Los
Hmm.
Angeles. You know
Yeah,
what I
with the
mean?
cobble, like some with like cobblestone streets. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
like the like the stoops out in front of the apartments and things like that.
Yeah, that's
No,
not a Los
yeah, it's a
Angeles
New
thing.
York
That's a
thing.
New York City thing. So one thing I like about the film too, I do like the kind of the 1-to-1 ratio from kind of the story of
The
Dracula.
beats,
It does feel the beat the I love the beats because I felt like it was a kind of a fresh take on those beats, but yet it hit the same things that you want to see in a
Mm-hmm.
vampire film. Like if a classic
Mm-hmm.
vampire film, that's what you want to
Right,
see.
and I also appreciated
I
the
feel
spin of not having it like uh, Eurocentric and oh no, yeah,
in the
in the past
past,
and like Eurocentric vampires and like and
yeah, I
they had
like
this
the
like really
modern
interesting they had this really
American
interesting
take.
explanation of vampires that like decided to migrate you know south and Although it doesn't really make sense because like, why would you spend majority of the time in a sun-soaked island? Um,
Doesn't make any
but
sense, but you don't really
yeah,
dwell on
I'll
that
allow
too
it.
too
I'll
long, so it
allow it.
doesn't matter.
And so yeah, so like
Yeah.
I quickly suspended my disbelief in that. So and I appreciated that. Oh yeah, this idea of vampires not merely just being sequestered in one geographical region, but like them spreading out and some taking up residence in like the Caribbean and how like through voodoo culture like there was they were incorporated into the local traditions and things like that. I appreciated that.
And it paid tribute to like a lot of the old classic vampire films. Like there's definitely a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Nosferatu in here. There's the Universal Dracula. I don't. It doesn't really have the Hammer horror Dracula, which is fine. But like essentially, like when you think of Dracula, you think of Nosferatu. You think of the Universal Dracula. That's kind of like what
Yeah,
you're
that's where your
thinking
mind
when you
goes
think
to.
of classic, yeah, vampire. They're thinking Bram Stoker's Dracula, which came out 3 years before this, which it does have some elements of that. It has elements of the Universal monsters Dracula, and it has elements of Nosferatu, both from 79 and 22. So that's that's it hits on those beats very well. I think the film is casted very well. Like I agree with you. Like the idea of it being kind of in a modern American area, at the time was fun. So it felt fresh and new in that sense. And kind of having an all black cast, kind of doing like kind of Blackula, I'm sure was a thought in
Right.
Eddie Murphy's mind when he was thinking about when doing this. I'm sure that's what Charlie Murphy was thinking about when they were writing it. So I like that aspect of it. Um, so yeah, I think those are all positives to the
Oh
film,
no, agreed.
and I don't think anyone acted badly. Like everyone did what they were supposed to do, and even like the some of the over the top comedy, uh, it was funny. It feel like I would have maybe preferred to have picked the lane.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go comedy, let's go on full on comedy. Like we could have like it could have been way funnier, or we could have been like way more serious is like what the original vision was. That's what
Right.
I'm kind of thinking. Like I think they
that's
were
where the
trying to.
tension is happening for me because it's like you have like these really dark and gruesome visuals like of like the I think Nikki was the roommate's name. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
Nikki, where
yeah, yeah.
like
I think you're
she
right.
gets brutally murdered, but then you have Guido being like being like the stereotypical Italian, and it's just like kind of like goofball, and yeah,
Hey yo, I'm
wait,
walking
yeah,
here.
my balls, yeah, whatever. It's like okay, um, and then you had like Kadeem Hardison, whose Renfield is like kind of obnoxious,
Yeah.
but like but still kind of likable.
It's fun. It's like I said, it's funny, but it just feels like he belongs in a different
Right.
movie at this point because he's
Yeah, or
too
it's like he's
funny.
too over the top with it, so he feels like the sidekick to like the main gangbanger, of the block. Where it's yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
especially that scene in the nightclub, uh, where Maximilian is trying to seduce Rita, and then Julius comes on like, hey man, don't you know this is my man? He got all the pussy. Da 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 da. It's just like it's like
Yeah.
a little too much, bro. And I mean, maybe that's a
Yeah,
cultural
dude.
thing, but it's like that seems like the second banana to like the main, drug dealer on the block sort of energy.
Right. It didn't it's a
Mm-hmm.
funny scene. I laughed, but at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
belong. And it's not a fault
No,
of
no,
the
of course
actor.
I
Like
don't. Yeah, I don't fault the actor.
he did a great job. I think this is where I think with Charlie Murphy, I think had a great idea to start off with the screenplay, and I think he got lured by Wes Craven to maybe like lessen that a little bit, and that's no fault of Charlie Murphy's. That's no fault really
Right.
of Wes Craven's. I think it was just, I think, like I was saying, is that Wes Craven was kind of tired of doing horror. So I think maybe he wanted to make it more of a comedy just because he had Charlie Murphy writing the screenplay and he had Eddie Murphy starring in the film.
Right. Yeah, I think.
Let's make it
Yeah, I
more
think
comedic.
the fault in Charlie Murphy is he had too much deference for Wes Craven. The fault of Wes Craven is that um, that he was doing this movie right at a time when he was trying to distance himself. Like he was having a bit of a he was having a little bit of an identity crisis, and he wanted to not be known as the horror guy.
Yeah, I think both of our stars, Wes Craven and Eddie Murphy, were at a crossroads. Eddie Murphy wanted to play a more serious character and do like something different than he's been wanting to do. And Wes Craven's in the same thing, and they were meeting at a crossroads, and it kind of
they literally
made
went past
things not work right. They weren't they were not simpatico, and I think that's why this film is not a beloved classic that it should be.
Indeed.
This should be celebrated. This should be a celebrated movie, and it's not. I think I think we have figured out the catalyst of why it's not a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. It's fun.
We figured out why
but
it's
not
a
great.
Well-regarded movie.
Right. Because I was a good friend of the show, Heidelberg. Him and I were talking about this, and like because I was saying, it's like, man, I really liked the film. Like I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I laughed. And I'm trying to think of like why this film is not thought of as much. And now that I kind of dug a little bit deeper into the film, I was like, oh, thinking of the time with what I know about Wes Craven and what Eddie Murphy was trying to do, and because after this he doesn't touch this type of film ever again because he goes into his like family comedy stuff, and he I think has kind of had somewhat of a resurgence. Like he did the kind of like the remake of the Dolomite movies, which was I have not seen it, but I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, and then he went back to a familiar character and Axel Foley in the Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, which was awesome. It was awesome, by the way.
I still haven't.
He did a great job, and that movie is great. It's so good. It's not as good as number one, but it's on par with number two in my opinion. Yeah. It redeems number three, wholeheartedly. Like it's so good, and but I think he also like kind of went back to stand up, but. I think the one film I think that really kind of ruined him a little bit as far as live action goes is Pluto Nash. Though I to be honest, I think I was trying to think of like films to choose for Schlocktober. That might be one of the films I choose is Pluto Nash.
Yeah, because I heard that one was a nightmare. Because like I think they completely reshot the movie.
Yeah, I think
if I'm remembering correctly.
That's I want to. That's why I was like I like the kind of direction we went with Schlocktober. Is like, okay, this film is bad. What would have made this better? Because I think like was it 2002 or like later that year he did Shrek, which was a voice acting thing, which obviously like was so much better for him, and that is a beloved classic. I still really like that film. I haven't seen it for a while now. I should rewatch that. We have to do our DreamWorks month too. With we'll have to do like Shrek and some of those. But yeah, man, I don't. How would you rate Vampire in Brooklyn?
All right. Giving our ratings. Yeah, I even after talking with you, like I don't think it really changed much from my initial feelings, but I do, it did help me kind of work through like why it wasn't working for me and why I was kind of down on it. But yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a three.
I'm gonna probably be slightly higher than you. I'm gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
3.5. Uh, just because I really enjoyed it. I
Mm-hmm.
laughed. I know it's flawed for sure, but the idea that I would have liked to have seen what a serious version of this film would have been, just because I think that was the initial intention, and maybe Wes Craven wasn't the right director for this film. As much as I
Yeah, he
love
just
Wes
wasn't in the
Craven,
right headspace.
I think he's a great director. Yeah, and I'm trying to maybe you get like a John Carpenter for this, who it his who's also a great
Mm-hmm.
horror director. And his career was kind of already like on the after The Thing, which we talked about, where he was on the trajectory going up, and that didn't work out for him, obviously, because of fucking
Mm-hmm.
ET. Sorry, Phil, but ET is not as good as The Thing. It's not. um, but the I think you get him to do something like this kind of gritty, not necessarily low budget, because I don't I think they would have had still about the same amount of budget, which was like
Mm-hmm.
$15 million. They ended up making 35 million, so it did pretty well. But you get him to do this, you make it a serious film, and I think that this elevates the film and makes it better. And people would like. I think that may change Eddie Murphy's career a little bit too, where it's like, oh, he can do serious roles. He's not just the
Mm-hmm.
comedy guy. And maybe it gives like a different type of career for Charlie Murphy, a different type of career for Eddie Murphy, maybe Angela
Mm-hmm.
Bassett as well. Maybe Alan Payne gets like a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
work out of it too. Um, I just I like what we have. I just think that we could have had something even greater. So with that, I would say 3.5.
Yeah, and I would like, and I think I would appreciate it if Rita was backstory was filled out a little bit more. Um,
Little, yeah, that's I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, her backstory of like it's we obviously get a lot more like in
uh-huh,
Bram Stoker's Dracula, and we I think maybe because the story of Dracula is
uh-huh,
so well known, maybe they felt it was unnecessary to give it.
right. Well, even just like, I wish.
Well, think about it. It's like the Spider-Man origin story. How many times do we need to
Right,
hear
but
that? I would say it's kind of the same thing with Dracula. We kind of know there's not because people have read a lot of Bram Stoker's Dracula, but because we've had so many vampire films that have
right. Well, I
dealt
mean,
with that
but what I'm
trope.
getting at is like, I want to know. I wish there was a little bit more backstory or a little bit more characterization, or yeah, just a little bit more history for Rita's character. Like maybe because we have like little. I think we have a very thin veneer. That passes for characterization. When we're
Well, maybe
when we're initial.
like an extra 10 minutes of her in the past with
Not
Maximilian.
necessarily in the past, but just like her with her mother, or like her having like these weird dreams, or like having some interaction where like these like these where she has like these feelings, like maybe it's like an initial interaction with a like a petty thief, and like she knows that he's lying about something, like maybe like he's trying to like she like some sort of crime scene, and she's asked this guy who's like a petty criminal, and like in the thick of things, and he knows something, but he's not being forthcoming, and she's able to like draw it out of him, and that could have been like a little hinted at like her special abilities of being like part vampire or whatever, and then like she would talk about like, oh, these long shifts are killing me, and then she could nod off and have like a dream about her mother, and in some sort, and like the mother could be like telling her something, and then she wakes up suddenly, and it's like, and then like the partner could make some comment about like, it's like, oh, it's like, man, you need some sleep, and then she could be like, oh no, what are you talking about? I do my best work at night. Yeah.
I think
just a little bit more. Just a little. We need just a little bit more backfill on,
like a little bit more character development on.
Yeah, exactly.
On her character, on her.
It's like because it's the whole.
Makes sense.
Show, not tell. So we're told that her mother, that her mother went crazy and died in a mental institute. We're told that she has like this weird sixth sense things or whatever, but we're not shown it.
Right. And because I buy the other part, like her connection with her partner. Yeah. I buy that. I feel like their relationship felt real. Like I totally bought that. But you're right. The idea of like the whole story with her mother, and like what a little bit more on that as to like what happened to her mom, or like just like a little bit of more fleshing out of the why people think she's a little bit crazy, other than just like, well, we know her mom is crazy because of the papers, blah blah blah.
It's the tell, not we were told, not shown. And so, like, we're constantly being told, like, oh, yeah, she's having a hard time because her mom passed away. As opposed to having a scene where, like, it's either like, she's having a flashback or something where, like, she's, like, over the mom's, like, casket and, like, she's crying. It's like, oh, I wish I could have been there for you, Mom. Or something, something.
Yeah, and I don't know how many screenplays Charlie Murphy wrote, but like it's maybe this is like one of his first ones, and maybe it's not fully fleshed out, but.
But if it was just a little bit more character development for Rita, I think it could have gone a long way, and maybe even elevated my rating of it.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so 3.5 for me, 3 for you. Definitely recommend.
Yes, we definitely recommend this.
I had fun, man.
Don't let my criticism make it seem like I hated this movie. I enjoyed this movie.
No, absolutely not. I would say I love this movie. It was fun.
I might not say I liked the movie, but I enjoyed the movie. I could wholeheartedly say I enjoyed the movie. And yeah, do I wish that it was something other than it was? Sure, but it doesn't take away my enjoyment of the movie, of what we got. So on that basis, I would recommend 3 for me.
So far
3.5 for Robert. So.
Yeah. So far, Korea's winning.
Yeah, I know, pretty much this month. Korea's the winner.
We'll see what Renfield brings us next week.
All right, folks. That was our movie review. So with that, that brings us to the close of our stream tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time. Yeah, and I hope you guys did as well. If you enjoyed our stream, don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, old episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions with our movie reviews, as well as Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us tonight. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night.